Hello and welcome to the Blatantly Obsessive Media Makers podcast, where we talk media and you have to hear it. I am SnakeJess Draws, and this is my co-host.
That's me, the co-host, Julian, my Julian. Not your Julian, my Julian.
So to start this week off, I'm just going to go ahead and rip off the proverbial band-aid and address the elephant in the room, because it feels like it would be too weird not to. So we make no secret of our political affiliations, at least not online or in public.
I
So
try not to. You kind of have to make it clear, like, the least amount of effort is required in our current climate to, indicate one's political alignment. Like, just when you're at work, ask, is the company going to compensate me for having to ride the bus into the office? And everyone will immediately, make the assumption.
Mhm. so Donald Trump won, and that's a bad thing. And
Yeah.
that feels like a bad thing, and it feels like a terrible thing, and it's a really depressing thing. So I know that this is a time of a lot of sorrow, a lot of sadness, a lot of dread and despair for a lot of people, and there's time for that, and I think it's important that we make time for that. But we got to start looking towards the future. Um, and we can't stay scared forever. Fascism thrives on people who do and say nothing, of fear, of atomization, of pushing us away. So now more than ever, it's really important to stick to your values, to stand up for what you believe in, and to not let fear of reprisal stop you from that. And like I said, it's okay, be sad and stuff, but don't don't let them push you back into a closet. Don't let them be scared to tell people what you think is right and wrong. Um, Fascists want to make their abnormal reality normal. So for people who are in positions of power, be wary of that first time that they want you to do something that's not right, and don't do it. Uh, Fascism, when good people don't do anything, is when they've really won. And I
I
know
agree.
a lot of people have problems with how the campaign was run, and there's a lot of finger pointing going on. And that's all aside the point. But what did happen during this election was a lot of really good people donated money. A lot of really good people phone banked. A lot of really good people walked and canvassed, and really worked to try to make this happen. And that work still counts, even though we lost. And those good people are still there. Um, so find those people, surround yourself with those people. Uh, be the sand that halts the gears, and we can make it through this next, 2 years to the midterms and then 2 years to the presidency. Because, it's not all over in a day. Um, that's just how I feel on it. That's really all I have to say.
And I echo all of the similar sentiments. If you're frustrated and looking for something to do in order to I guess course correct, for lack of a better term, resources are out there. If you have any ounce of faith in your local representatives, it is uh, permittable for you to reach out and ask what are you going to do as my political representative, et cetera, et cetera. What can I do as a citizen? There are also organizations out there that are doing some of the work. Everyone has been linking to me the trevorproject.org. That seems pretty cool. I'm going to donate to that. Seems like they're doing good work. And I do a lot of stuff locally to make like my immediate area at least that much better in the wake of all of the nonsense.
Yeah. Um, look for mutual aid groups around you. Guarantee you, if you're in a city, they're there. Um, and you can find them for lots of different groups. So yeah, and it can be a lot of assistance there, either financially or helping you get medications through a hard time. Things like that, they're really good for. Just keep in mind that you don't have to be alone in all of this. There are people out there, and it's a little bit of legwork to find them, but go and look. If you have a therapist, ask your therapist. They probably know a lot of these places already. Um,
Or they've seen
yeah,
one of those posts that make the rounds on Twitter and Tumblr and the like those image lists of like hotlines and things. I
yep,
always try to share those when I see them.
yep. Those are all really good. So, on a lighter note, um, this last month, not last month, this last like week or so, Ultimate's number 6 drop. Uh, and holy hell, uh, they're cooking with this Marvel Ultimate Universe. So I kind of want to go over a little bit of what's going on um, with that.
Please do,
So,
because I have not read the latest Ultimates yet.
oh, it's so good. So the whole conceit of the Ultimate Universe is that the maker, following all the stuff in Secret Wars, he has gone off and he is making his own universe and he is fixing it. So he's gone through and he's altered history. Lots of heroes aren't heroes, lots of ones that are heroes. He's roped into his machinations and he has given the world a new world government. It's ruled by these shadow leaders. Um, he's off in his city doing stuff, and he's gone for the next 2 years. And there's a real world countdown going on in these 2 years. So, in 2 real years, 2 years will have passed in the Ultimate Universe, and he will return. And Tony Stark in this universe is Iron Lad. He has discovered this plan. He's been like kind of framed as a terrorist, and he's trying to fix things. So he's been going around giving people back their powers. He gives Peter Parker his spider powers. And, that's how Ultimate Spider-Man happens. And he goes through and he's assembling the Ultimates, which is kind of his little strike force. And each issue does a lot as far as like world building goes. It's mostly been assembling stuff. They got like American Chavez in issue 2. Um, they've got they got Hulk, or they got a Hulk person from a Hulk Island, where Bruce Banner had been doing experiments, gamma experiments, and sealed off this island in the middle of the ocean. They just gave him free reign to do like gamma experiments. And Camp even kind of uses a lot of real world examples of fucked up shit that we did in the Pacific, we being the US, as kind of jumping off point for some of that, and references it. There's a really interesting take on Hawkeye in this universe where he's an indigenous person. And that's really interesting. But this whole time, they've kind of been setting up that the first big bad they're going to go after is the Bruce Banner Hulk of this world. And so issue 6 starts off, and they're going into what they think is going to be breaking out a bunch of other like heroes that have been captured and are going to be executed. And it is not that. It is a trap.
Damn.
They get there, they're pulled into it, and they disappear. Dr. Doom can't find them. And they're in let's see, what is the name of it? I believe it's like the city, the Iron Fist city. Because this Hulk has the Iron Fist powers, and he has conquered that whole realm. So he is not just a big bad rage machine. He is a Zen ass martial arts rage machine with
Which is funny because like being a Zen master would be like the opposite of being a like rage monster. And he's also evil.
right. He's there. He's basically like, we can do this the easy way, and you drink my poison tea, or we could just like super fuck you up. And they go to do that, and it does not turn out well for them. He is mopping the floor with them. It is so cool seeing him just do these crazy martial arts moves. There's a part where it measures the strength of one of his kicks in like Hiroshima's. Like,
Oh no.
it's like 2 times Atomic Iron Fist, 32 Hiroshima level. It's like, it's wild. And little spoiler alert, Tony might be dead after this. We don't know because it's the last panel, but he is mad fucked up. They barely escape with their lives. And oh man, Janet, she gets eaten. And then sizes up and explodes a dude from inside out.
I hate to make this comparison, but how many Hiroshimas is comprised of 9/11?
I don't even think 9/11 is a Hiroshima. 9/11's like a .1 Hiroshima.
Oh, okay.
I would have to, because like if you're measuring it by how much like force
Yeah.
a thing has, because like I feel like it's not a lot. Because like Hiroshima's like, it was a weak nuke, but it's still like a ton of TNT. Someone has to do the math. This would be a great what if question for XKCD. What if? How many Hiroshimas of force was 9/11?
Or maybe one of those what if cartoons, like instead of it being measured by Hiroshimas, they measure it by Pearl Harbors. I don't know. It just feels weird to measure it by Hiroshimas.
It is a choice. It is a choice. But they are doing a lot with the Hulk, and radiation and paralleling that in this universe. So I kind of see how he got there.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest, I was not expecting that. It was such a. I was expecting them to have a conflict with Hulk. I knew that they were building up to it. I had a feeling it would be around issue 6 because that's where the trade would end. The first little arc would end, and I was totally caught off guard. I was surprised. It was a really epic moment. And it wasn't just him there. He had a bunch of lackeys whose names I can't remember, but they were all very strong. And it's sort of interesting because some of the people on their team had like read the books or like some of the stuff, the media they had in this world. And it's like, what? Why are they here? They're supposed to be peaceful. And it's like, motherfucker, how are you in this far in this and not realize that like everything you know about these people is propaganda? Like,
Yeah.
it is like, come on, dude. When you do it,
Deliberately orchestrated by the maker. Like he has records of like all of the main universe heroes, almost as if like he kept Wikipedia pages
yeah,
of like all the good guys and their good guyisms, so that he knew like what to fuck up.
yep. He is not normal about the Marvel universe at all. Uh, Man, the whole thing with Doom being this like fucked up, tortured Reed Richards.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew it. They don't hide it. They're pretty well, they kind of hide it by not saying it directly in the early issues, but it's really heavily hinted at. And then when they actually, show it, it's like, oh damn, that hurt more than I thought it was going to, and I thought I knew what was coming.
I kind of love how psychotic the maker is. Like his slow transformation into that character from Ultimate Reed Richards from the initial like mid 2000s side series was interesting because like Reed Richards from that universe, not at all like the kind of Reed Richards from the mainline universe. He's very emotional, irrational,
Hmm.
uh, more than a bit of an ego. And I guess someone picked up on that and was like, I'm going to run with that. Let's make this guy a piece of shit.
Yup. And piece of shit, they did. So that has been super exciting. I've been like, the Ultimate Universe has been good so far. So I'm not like super surprised. But if they're really building to something in Ultimates, especially, feels like really like it's kind of the background or the backbone rather of the greater narrative of this universe. And the other
Yeah.
Ultimate books are kind of like telling their own stories in it.
Very self-contained too. Like not a
Hmm.
lot of references to anything going on in the other books yet.
Yeah, not really. Black Panther's pretty much up in its own world. Ultimate X-Men is very much off in its own world, and I kind of wonder if it'll ever loop up with the other series or not. And I wouldn't be like mad if it didn't, just because stylistically and like tonally, it's so much doing its own thing.
Yeah. I'm kind of disappointed in Ultimate Black Panther. The whole like Wakandian Civil War thing, I think, is played out at this point. I'd like to read a different Black Panther story now, please.
Yeah, that is that is fair. It's Black Panther's a hard character. I feel like.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know if it's one of those weird like Marvel limitations where it's like, no, you have to tell the story this way, or if like the people writing for the character are just afraid to like make Black Panther fans angry. I don't know a lot of other like people who like Black Panther, so I don't know what the expectation is, but my expectation is literally anything else at this point.
there is one fun Black Panther book I'm reading right now, which is Predator versus Black Panther,
Ooh.
which I've been enjoying. Um, it's kind of fun. The whole conceit of this book is I don't know. Did you read? Because there's like a Predator versus Wolverine book too that was written by the same guy.
It's been on
Um,
my to-do list. Like Predator comics seem like a pretty fun concept, but it's always like super low on my priority list.
yeah. Like like all licensed comics, they're hit and miss. But I'm a pretty big fan of the Predator and Alien franchises, so I tend to pick these up and read them. The Wolverine one was really cool because Wolverine has such a long history. The way they were able to frame it was each issue was about a confrontation he had with this one specific predator at different times in his life.
Uh,
So like, and if you've read a lot of X-Men, you'll recognize kind of some of these periods of time, like when he's training with his master before he finds out he's evil in Japan and stuff like that. You'll kind of recognize these moments, and that's pretty neat. The Predator Black Panther book takes a pretty different approach. You see a good bit of it from the point of view of an actual predator, uh, and you see like there's this family feud going on. He has a brother who's like bulkier, bigger dude than him, and doesn't have like a messed up arm, and that person's favored by the father who's like the leader of their group. So they're having an all-out war over um who should basically inherit everything with their family. And his father has a vibranium spear that's super badass and awesome, and gives it to the older brother. Officially chooses a side. He gives it to the one who's already stacked. And so the younger brother's basically like, I'm gonna go and get my own vibranium
mm,
and fuck you guys up. And where on earth is there vibranium? There's vibranium in Wakanda.
yeah.
So he ends up there.
Which whoever came up with that, I want to slap them in the face, like because that's the like focal point of every Black Panther thing now, and I'm like, I hate it.
Yeah,
I'm just
it.
tired of it.
I don't know when that became part of the canon, but it is like the Wakanda thing now.
Yeah.
But the story's pretty fun. They show up. They're doing their this stuff. They take the people by surprise. It's really fun to see them fighting because like they have a lot of different warrior types and like the whole Black Panther thing. You know, you have like the guards or whatever, and the ones that are like super trained assassins. And it's kind of fun to see them fight because that is kind of like the traditional thing: is you pair the predator up with a different type of fighter, and you see
Yeah.
what happens. Um, so it's pretty cool. I've been enjoying it. There's only one more issue to come, and yeah, that's been pretty interesting. But that's like pretty much the extent of my Black Panther reading. That and Ultimate Black Panther.
I wish I could say you're missing out on like a lot of really good Black Panther reading, but uh, a lot of it is mid. I feel like I prefer the stories where he's interacting with other characters, but that also is like the dumbest thing ever because it's like, why would he ever leave?
Yeah,
But I'm sure there are others like potential story ideas that they could be working on. Like I remember he had his own Ultimates team where they were like in space and stuff. That was cool. More of that, please.
yeah, I know. I remember hearing some stuff about that, and I do always like it when they're like in space and you see Wakandan starfighters and stuff. It's like, oh, that's kind
Yeah.
of cool. Space Empire. Um,
It's like that one clip from that video game where the guy is like, I'm going to go to the one place not corrupted by capitalism, space, or something.
oh, buddy, if only you knew. It's gonna get there. It's gonna get there.
Probably. Until it
Uh,
doesn't. Uh, every like sci-fi thing is like almost built in that conceit. Space was cool until they found out that they could sell you more space.
oh yeah, you think it's the Milky Way galaxy now? Well, one day it'll be Milky Way trademark
Yeah.
galaxy. Hershey's. I think Milky Way's a Hershey product. It's one of those chocolate companies. They'll definitely own it. You know, the Marlboro system. Uh, Speaking of space capitalism, the second issue of Aliens versus Avengers or Avengers versus Aliens, I can never remember, came out. It comes out every other month, but it's a double-sized issue.
Ooh.
Uh, and that's pretty fun. Um, they're like kind of in their last remaining city, but then it turns out, um, so the aliens come from like a group of if you've seen Covenant, you know how they have like that synth that is played by like Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
There's like a bunch of those synths kind of, and they have gone around and like kind of killed all the organic life in their universe by aliening them. And then they went dormant. But then somehow they discovered the multiverse. So now they're on a mission to alienify all the multiverse, and that's kind of where they've come from. So they're in this alternate universe, and we get to see that Tony had figured out what they were doing, kind of that they were up to something with some business, some company. They try to take over Wayne or not Wayne, the Stark company, and they're like they basically like I don't know, they've set everything in motion, and Tony can't stop it, but he's figured out they're up to something. And this was like a long time ago. So we cut to the present and we see they're in the last city on Earth that's kind of remaining. All the heroes that are like still alive are there. And it turns out this city isn't a city, it's an escape city. It is a giant
Ah.
spaceship city that's going to take them to space with a few thousand people, and they're going to try to repopulate someplace else. And so that takes off this issue. Hulk gets left behind because stuff goes wrong at the last minute, and he has to help the final survivors get in. And you know his little sacrifice is to be left on the alien Earth. Um, who knows if that'll come back? Because I don't know. Like xenomorphed Hulk would be insane. It they're always pulling crazy stuff with the Hulk, so I don't even want to say that he's trapped on Earth. You never know.
Oh yeah. After what was it, Immortal Hulk? Like I have all the expectations in the world for the potential of a Hulk story.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a pretty fun one. Uh, let's see. Oh, and the absolute universe. We gotta touch on that. So the last one of the big kind of three. I know there's way more absolute books coming. There's like an absolute Flash book in the pipeline, an absolute Martian Manhunter, probably more. I'm
Yeah.
kidding. But now we've got absolute Batman, absolute Wonder Woman, and absolute Superman. And absolute Superman's written by Jason Aaron. Kind of an interesting book. Someone I know described it as both showing and telling, because he spends a good bit of time telling us about the like this Kryptonian caste system that the Kryptonians have, and then also showing it to us. We see it come up a good bit.
More than a
Um,
good bit. I almost got bored reading it. I'm like, I hate to be too long, didn't read, but less is more.
yeah, I heard that complaint a lot. Um, but yeah, and here the S symbol basically stands for the workers who are like the lowest caste in this society. And so there's a bunch of stuff here. The whole thing is the dad was a disgraced scientist because he had predicted that they were going to fuck up the planet, and the establishment didn't want to hear about it because it would mean things had to change, and change can't happen.
Yeah.
Um, but then it turns out he was totally right. Uh, Also, and so they send this kid off not as a baby this time, as a child who remembers Krypton, which is an
Mm.
interesting change. And also, I did kind of like how they made his dad look kind of like classic era Superman a little.
Yeah. That was
Um,
interesting.
I don't know what they meant by that. Do they? I don't know if that's like something that they were intending to play with, or if the artist was just like, "Wouldn't this be funny if?" Uh, but who knows? You can never tell. But Jason Aaron's kind of a hit or miss writer, so I don't know. This could go someplace or could not. I did like the idea that what he's doing and going around is kind of helping workers in like shitty countries. I thought that was like, or like not even shitty countries, but like shitty,
What was it, like Brazil or something?
yeah, but like shitty exploitative work. Like they got them in this mine and they're paying them jack shit and they're all getting sick. And
Yeah.
he goes ahead and he's like filling their quotas of like mining quotas overnight so they don't have to work.
Did you
Um,
recognize that bird symbol? I feel like I've seen that somewhere before, but
Dude,
I can't place it.
peacemakers. Peacemakers.
Oh,
I didn't get that till like halfway through. I'm like, what the like this looks so familiar. And then I realized that's that dove from Peacemaker, but they're like a core. I don't that was interesting to me. I don't know what's going on with that. Like, but it seems interesting. But yeah, and then after I realized that, I kind of looked at the costumes a bit and I was like, okay, this is definitely like Peacemaker inspired ish. Um, but again, I don't know what he meant by that.
also, did your copy end with like a 3-page AEW comic?
um, I don't know AEW. Um, Probably if yours did. I remember what all I remember about the end was they did a little tease at the end, but it felt very like not like it was not very related to the rest of the plot, and I was like kind of disappointed. I was like, that's you could have just left this out and gotten to it next issue.
Oh yeah, the actual end of the book was like a flashback or something.
Yeah, and I was not vibing. I know a couple of people that weren't gonna pull the second issue, but I'm gonna give it 2 or 3 issues to cook because I do think maybe there could be something there. It just depends on if his writing style is gonna hit.
Yeah, not to be all place Japan, but the way that I'm approaching these books is if I ever like find myself without a chapter of whatever ongoing manga I'm reading, then I'll pick up like a Marvel or a DC book.
That's a good way to do it.
That results in me being behind everyone else by like a week or two, but that's just my reading habits. I try not to read too much.
Yeah, I kind of I don't pace it out with manga specifically, but I do the same thing where like I tend to not sit and read multiple issues in a row. I will read one issue and then I will stop. I'll be doing things. And then
Yeah.
when I have a break, I'll read one issue or like one manga chapter or one little thing. I can't, for some reason, but doing a bunch of issues in a row, I get like, I don't know. I guess it stresses me out. It wigs me out. I don't know why. I just feel weird about it. Um, in a way I can't quite describe. So it's just I just like taking the breaks, and plus they're kind of written to be ingested in these chapters as it is. So it's kind of fun to take it that way. Even if you're reading it in the trade, you can almost relive that little piecemealing experience.
Oh, yeah. That's one of my favorite things, about trades. That used to be for a while the only way I would engage with comics because, like, mathematically, comics are kinda a scam, you go out every week or, like, every month, you get your floppies, and it adds up. I
They're
wish
fucking
I could just exclusively read trades.
Yeah, they're fucking expensive. Like there's no sugarcoating it. They cost way too much. Um, I don't know how you fix that, but they are ooh, the luxury good. I've
Yeah.
like even started pulling back on like my Marvel pickups so that I like picking up um indie books like Image books or other like smaller published books because sometimes those books won't survive long enough to get a full trade if they don't get support. So
True.
I do like to buy those. And I do enjoy buying my X-Men books, but like I've cut back on like a lot of Marvel books, just because I know that they'll hit Marvel Unlimited in a few months if I really want to read them, and that's like the cost of two floppies a month if you're paying the absolute highest price monthly. Um,
Oh, okay.
so like it's totally worth it to read that way. And of course you can always pirate them, but with such a tiny gap and with how many Marvel books there are, it's like you don't even need to. You can just
Yeah, it's worth paying for if, like, you're actually in it.
Mhm. And they do track readership on that app, and they do pay out to they do somehow factor in the Marvel Unlimited readers in whatever payment they give their creators. I don't know
Oh,
the
that's
details
cool.
of it, but I believe I've heard that in interviews. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong in comments, but I've heard that.
Yeah, big if true, like, that seems more fair than, anything I've ever heard of, like, digital comics have been a thing for a long time, but I've never heard of anything like that, at least, like, with Western publishers.
Yeah. I do like what Marvel does too, where they give you the digital copy with your comic. It does incentivize you to get the floppy because if there's not going to be any price discount on the digital copy, because like if they did that for new books, uh, comic stores would throw fits.
Yeah.
So, it does give you a reason to go and get the physical copy if you got the space for it. I mean, that's the other problem too. If you're a comic fan, space, where do you put all this stuff? Um, that pushes a lot of people into digital, and I totally understand it because I have more books than I know what to do with, and I really like collecting physical media because, when the power goes down and the internet stops functioning, in the post climate change world, I will be laughing with all of my books. I probably won't be though, because if I ever have to move, I won't be able to carry them with me,
Yeah.
unless I have like I don't know, a series of pack mules with which to caravan.
I do have a
Uh,
short list of, like, some books that I would want to have on my person in that scenario, but, my personal collection is mostly just, like, uh, industry trade magazines, like some restaurant magazines. Um, Back when radio used to be a thing, they had like magazines for people who owned radio stations. Those are interesting to read. But also National Geographic. Lots of great writing in those.
kind of am sad that I never got to experience the heyday of the magazine era. Um,
Oh yeah,
because
it's
it,
definitely different from how it used to be nowadays.
yeah, because like the internet really replaced a lot of what you would use a magazine for.
Yeah,
Um, and I do remember I bought a couple magazines as a kid. Like back when Wizard, there's a brief period where Wizard was around, where I would buy an issue of Wizard every now and then at the store. They would be in the same section of the Food Lion where like I would get my little Shonen Jump, and I would see like there'd be like gun magazines and all this other stuff that I didn't really care about.
yeah.
Um, Sometimes get some random game magazine. So I mostly, if it was a game magazine, it was Game Informer, which uh it was all right. It was a lot of, I remember one time I subbed to it. Um, I was off at college and I had a subscription. They were sending it home, and I just assumed my folks were saving it. My mom was like, "Oh, I thought those were ads. They're just trash."
I mean, with how GameStop was giving away subscriptions, I could see how someone might make that assumption.
Oh yeah. I mean, to be fair, they are kind of like ads with how
Yeah,
not critical the reviews could be at times.
true. I feel like Game Informer was slightly better for that. But where like maybe their review staff failed, a lot of like the editorial content was really good. Like I remember there was one issue that had interviews with voice actors
Ooh,
that was very insightful. It talked about the trivial aspects of like doing voiceover for Japanese video games as like an English speaking localizer. And that kind of like kept me from being weird, like how a lot of people are weird online about localizations. It like clued me into like what actually goes into the meat and potatoes of that sort of thing. I should
what
look
were
up
they?
that issue.
What kind of things do you remember from it, or can you not recall too
Like
much?
how the context of like a direct translation doesn't always translate to like an actual good read. And so you are either encouraged to ad lib or you work with the scriptwriter to get something that fits the tone of the performance. And
Okay.
one of my favorite things in that article was how when that doesn't happen, that's how you get a lot of like the weird Japanese video game voiceover stuff where it's like, oh, that's a weird line read. And it's like, yeah, they probably just like never went back and fixed it, which happened a lot apparently.
I can see it. I localizations in video games have never really bothered me, just because I kind of do enjoy having voice acting in my video games, even if it's not great. It's just so I just like having it. So I'll use the English voices on a lot of like JRPGs and stuff.
I'm kind of 50-50 on it. If it is like super boring, then I have to ask myself, like, how much do I care about the story or am I just like in it for the atmosphere? Like if it's something really boring, like my apologies to Ease fans, but a lot of Ease games are boring as sin, but they're very pretty. So I don't pay attention to the story. I just play the game and look at like the cool graphics. And the voice acting, kind of similar, not exciting. It's like everyone knows, okay, this is just it's East, it's okay, kind of less than okay. So we're going to do less than okay. But when
Not
it's really
super
good,
familiar with those with ease games, but I can definitely understand the sentiment generally.
oh yeah, the epitome of what do they call it? Cult games. Like people who are into them probably played like a really, really old version that's very unlike anything that they're making nowadays. But back then they were popular because they were like the first kind of RPG that was actually real time
Ooh.
and not like Zelda real time, but also kind of Zelda real time, but with more RPG elements going for it.
Interesting. That does sound kind of my speed.
But it's one of those series where like the tropes, I guess, were so comfortable for the designers that they very rarely ever like strayed beyond what they have. Like the fact that every game has a guy named Adol, and that's like the name of the main character. It's like always the same guy. New plot, same guy. It's like you can mix it up a little bit. And they say, no,
Is
we
it
at
are
Falcon,
they
we like
named
our
the
guy.
same? Are
Yeah.
they literally the same? Are they like did they give them the same personality?
It's kind of like that. Yeah. Like, you know how every Zelda game is like, we have Link? Well,
Okay. Yeah.
every Ys game is like, we need this guy. I don't even know if this is the proper way to pronounce it, but Adol, Adol. And it's like, what kind of name is that? That doesn't even sound like a real name, but they've stuck with it.
It sounds like they accidentally wrote Adolf and then we're like, oh fuck, we can't do that. Just get rid
Maybe.
of that last F. Get rid of the F. No one will notice. It's cool. It's cool. We're good. Adol. Adol. Yeah, let's go. I would
But
probably
yeah,
just
they are
attend it
fun
somewhere.
games. If you like manage to lock into some aspect of it that is appealing, like even though I feel like the narrative aspect, some of the character aspects are very dull. I like the world design of the games. I like the monster design of the games, and they are often actually fun to play. It's just if like you're the kind of person that's playing the game and then like the plot is your reward, if you're like me, you will get bored.
Yeah, it's kind of like I guess it's kind of like how I view Dragon Quest games because I like Dragon Quest games, the few that I played,
Yeah.
but I'm not like super invested in Dragon Quest plots. I'm mostly here just because I really like Toyama inspired everything, and those games
Yeah.
are full of it.
It's very difficult to care about like the broad strokes of a Dragon Quest plot. I feel like the best parts of those games are, like you said, the Akira Toriyama designs and artwork, and some character interactions. Like specific characters tend to make the whole thing for me.
Oh yeah, yeah, I love the character bits are great. I think that's what gets me most excited too. Especially I forget his name, but the super I don't know. 11 had this super wacky kind of music guy. That was a lot of fun. He's like the gayest character ever.
Oh,
Uh,
from 11.
yeah,
I wish I could remember any of those characters' names.
yeah, same. I'm so bad with names. The main character is like a nothing character in that game, which is kind of funny because he's very much like a self insert for you, which I think a lot of them kind of do.
Yeah. But my apologies for that tangent. We were
Oh yeah,
talking
no,
about the
no.
Absolute series and then got into the economics of collecting floppies.
As one does when talking about these books. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that was all I really had to say about old Absolute Superman. Um, Absolute Wonder Woman, I think, is my favorite so far. But they just because again, I've not read tons of Wonder Woman. I've read some Wonder Woman, but mostly like Elseworld stories. I do have like two Wonder Woman omnibuses that have been sitting on my list to read, like a Gail Simone run and a George Perez run. Which is I think the George Perez one especially is like kind of the big backbone of what a lot of modern Wonder Woman is.
That's what I've heard.
So I've been meaning to do it for a long time, but just have not gotten around to it. I like read DC in bursts, especially if I'm going back and reading tons of it.
I'm kind
Uh,
of a fair weather DC reader. I will usually check in if there's like an event happening that sounds interesting. Like I was one of those people that was kind of like a forever ignore DC sort of person. And then when they started doing the metal series, I was one of those assholes who was like, "Oh, I love the Batman who laughs. More of this, please." And they obliged.
To be fair, the Batman Who Laughs was really cool at first until they put
Then
him
they
in
kept doing
everything.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, we got a hit here. Time to print money. And now it's there's a really fun interview with Scott Snyder where it's like, he can't help that it's in everything. He doesn't have lots of choice with that, but he's happy about it because as far as his kid's concerned, his dad's the guy that invented this badass thing in Fortnite. And
Oh, he's in Fortnite. Oh my
he is in
god.
Fortnite, and I guess his kid got to brag on his dad for that, which is good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like metal. I'm very similar with DC. I come in for the events. I usually will read whatever, like if they have a really good run on Batman, I'll read that after the fact. I'm not like someone who pulls Batman monthly. Um, I don't pull tons of really any DC books monthly like that. I step in when it's good. DC, like there's something about the world that doesn't I'm not like as interested in as a whole as much as I am in Marvel, but they
Yeah.
do tend to get really good talent, and frequently they will have like above average talent. Like the artists that they'll get in DC books will be very, very, very good. It's just a matter of if it's a book I care about.
Like the most recent Superman runs like looked really good, but then I would get the plot secondhand from some people and I would think, I'm not going to read that. Looks cool though.
Yeah. The I think I was pulling the Tom King Wonder Woman for a bit, and I was really enjoying that. And again, the art was stellar there. But yes, I did like the Absolute Wonder Woman. She kind of had like, I don't know if it's just me and being like, I've read Berserk. I see Berserk everywhere, but I felt like that armor she had was very like, I don't know. In my head, it reminded me of like Guts or like Sauron or like. So it was very metal. It was very badass and cool, and on a skeleton horse, no less. Wow, so edgy, but cool edgy.
Yeah, edgy in a way that isn't like embarrassing for everyone involved.
hmm And it helps that the book was balanced out with lots of cute during the whole her getting raised bits.
I feel like that's a
Very,
big thing with a lot of Wonder Woman books. Like those non-fighting vignettes do tend to skew cute. And I'm not sure if it's just because I'm so tired of Batman melodrama, but I like the Wonder Woman cute stuff.
yup. And the Absolute Batman I liked, but feels the closest to what we've had before, aside from the whole mom being alive is probably the biggest change. He's
Yeah,
like poor too. He's not like as rich, but because they found a way to give him access to more or less everything he would normally have, like bases around the city and stuff, it doesn't feel too different. Although
right.
design wise, it is very different.
Yeah, that design is crazy.
Yeah,
Like
the spikes.
the symbol on his chest also like just literally being an axe.
Yeah. When people were memeing on that symbol for like a long time, he was like, there's a reason for it. And then we get to the end of the book. It's like, God damn, yeah, there was a reason for it. Whew.
Yeah.
Um,
Interested in seeing what's going on with Alfred. That might be the thing that like makes it or kills it for me in terms of how that character is integrated into the plot.
yep. He's definitely like some kind of super spy. He's some kind of like something going on there. But yeah, it will be interesting. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like the Earth One Batman or Batman Alfred relationship a little bit where Alfred I wonder if he's gonna come in and mentor him at all, or if he's going to be adversarial or what. Also, all the villains that he's grown up with that are like presumably not going to be villains now, or who knows how they're gonna come in. I thought it was cool. Like He's just having like a casual talk with what was that, Killer Croc in there or something?
Yeah.
That was a neat kind of thing. It almost reminds me of Gotham a little bit.
Oh, the TV show.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I've not seen tons of it, but
I've seen like none of it. I remember people kept spotlighting a particular character who's like the show's big, not Joker, like legally distinct Joker almost.
yeah,
That's all I remember from that show. And I guess like the Riddler and Scarecrow are twinks.
very much so. I think one of the few episodes I've seen was a Riddler episode.
Real Tumblr sexy man core guys.
Oh yeah, 100%. What's funny to me is the audience for that show, because like that show and The Flash, like the most random people you'd never think would be into it love that show. Like I remember my partner's sister's boyfriend. He was like big dude, hunter dude, kind of a country, like rich country bro. Like his parents are very well off, but he still has like that kind of personality.
Yeah.
But all about the Flash and Gotham shows. Like never picked up a comic book in his life. Never going to. Loves those shows. Super into those shows.
That kind of reminds me of one of my grandmas. She was super into mecha anime, and would like actually buy it on DVD. And it's like,
Wow.
that's so weird. I've never seen her like watch anything else like that, but she'll watch that kind of stuff. Or at least she did. She's dead now, but
Oh man. The casual way you said that is just like I
oh
mean
yeah,
it's not
I
that
didn't want
surprising for
anyone
a
to like
grandparent to be dead, but
have the expectation that like she'll be watching a Witch from Mercury or something like that. It's like, nope, not gonna happen.
yeah, we will not be getting monthly updates
Yeah.
on that. My dead grandmother never watched an anime except for maybe if she watched a Pokemon around me. Oh, I do remember one time she saw me watching uh Dragon Ball Z specifically, Vegeta fighting Android 18 and being like, it's not right for that man to hit that woman. I'm like, trust me, grandma, it's okay.
Yeah, in this particular specific instance, it's his obligation to fight her.
Yes. This is like the one in a million time where this is a good thing, actually.
Yeah.
We're like the insert clip of Horton Hears a Who from Family Guy being like, there's two sides to this story. That's such a good the Family Guy really does have like some of the funniest little 1 second gags.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I wonder why they stopped doing those. Did it not make a lot of money?
I feel like they have to. I don't know. I haven't watched a Family Guy in forever. I don't even know what when I experience Family Guy, it's usually
Oh, I
from
was
a
thinking of
YouTube.
the Dr. Seuss movies. My apologies.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I don't know what happened to this Dr. Seuss movie. What was
It
it
seemed
the
like it
other
was like a
day?
big trend, and then they just stopped.
Yeah, a couple weeks back we watched that what was it? That really random ass Grinch
Oh,
thing?
Grinch Night.
Yeah.
It was very Hebrew coded, I remember.
Yeah, that was wild. I was kind of in and out on it, but very I didn't even know it existed. I didn't know they did tons of those. I never knew there was a Horton cartoon until like I was an adult. I had a couple of little Dr. Seuss cartoons. I had How the Grinch Stole Christmas VHS that I watched the crap out of.
A classic.
Very good, very good. I would throw it on in the summer, uh, because that's of course I did. The forced meme of Christmas in July got into my head from media. it is bizarre how many like weird forced memes there are. Like food fights in like kids movies. I've never seen a food fight in my life. Did that ever
Yeah.
happen to anyone? I don't think so.
I wasn't in, school for very long, but nothing like that ever happened.
Yeah, I
If
never saw.
anything, kids tended to slide into, like, small form, like, trading almost like, those fruit cups? Kids would trade fruit cups like they were stocks.
Oh yeah, 100%. The lunch barter was real at my school.
Yeah.
I remember uh, my one of my friends would always trade my other friend for like his sandwich because like his mom would like throw so much ham on this sandwich, ridiculous amounts of ham, and he didn't like it. But it would be like ham and avocado. So my friend would trade, and I remember one time he was like, "Can you tell your mom not to put the avocado on it?" And he's like, "No, I like avocado." And it's like, "Well, you never eat it. I eat it. So why can't you do that?" And it's like, "Screw you. What if I don't trade you from now on?" Kids are very weird with lunch.
I
I
was not
always
that industrious. If I ever got something I didn't like, I would just throw it away, which got me in trouble with a lot of teachers because they would see a kid throwing away food and they would rightly be like, "Don't do that. What are you doing? What's wrong with you?"
there are children in Africa who would kill to have that food.
Yeah.
Um, got that speech a lot. Uh, I remember in third grade, there was even a lady that kept chickens who worked in the kitchen in the back. So they would
Ooh.
have like a little bucket that she would have us put our scraps in, and she would feed it to her chickens. And that, I don't know if she really did that or if it was just a way for them to make sure that we weren't making messes, like throwing away our food or what. But it was very interesting to me. Like,
Oh, it's like one of those, leading by example white lies that, people make for kids.
yeah,
This is
looking
the
back, I can never
responsible way to
tell.
do things if I were a responsible person.
Uh, but yeah, get food. Food and school and random stuff like that. I'm trying to think of other really forced memes as a kid, but I can't quite remember anymore off the top of my head. But food fights was always the biggest one. I was like, I've never seen that happen. It's never been a thing. But also, my school is a weird school because it was like a tiny school and like a religious school. So like, never saw kids really get in fights or anything, even though I know that happens. Like happened at my cousin's school a lot.
Our parents pulled us out of school, I think, around like the first grade. So I have the loosest understanding of like what all of that is like up to the point where we started going to college. So like everything I know about like I guess public life for a kid is entirely from like television, but
Hmm.
I can never tell what was like forced or not because it's all fiction. If I'm sitting
Hmm.
there watching That's a Raven, I assume everything on television is heightened reality and does not represent the world in any way.
Yeah. Uh, I like basically never went to public. I homeschooled a little bit when I was young, and then I went to like that Christian school. My parents taught me to read, which apparently was a good thing because I found out recently that the curriculum they use in like U.S. public schools to teach reading is insane.
Yeah, that was wild.
I can't imagine learning to read like a like so just stare at it until the context tells you what the word is. What?
That's nuts.
No wonder we have a literacy crisis if that's the way of like that they're taught. This whole time I was like reading this article, I'm like, wait, is this secretly good or something? No way. I can't. And then at the end it's like, no, not secretly good, actually bad. And I was like, yeah, no shit. Okay, cool. I don't know what's
Yeah, I
going on in the
thought
education world.
phonics was the default way.
That's
Like
what I always thought too.
when I saw the commercials for like Hooked on Phonics, they were advertising it as some sort of like revolutionary thing that no one is doing. And I thought, that's stupid. That's how you learn to read. Why would you buy that?
Yep. And I guess, whoops, joke's on us. Except
Yeah.
not really. The joke's on people that get stuck in public schooling. Um, yeah, I love that South Park where he has hooked on monkey phonics. And he still can't spell. Uh,
It is a crime that those guys are so funny.
yeah, he gets a word like chair and he spells it wrong, and Kyle gets like gubernatorial. I love the there's like a half of that too that's like a whole parody of Star Trek a little bit, because he's going to the girl and giving the love speech and he's kind of talking like Kirk from Star Trek. And he's like, I live at the dot over there. And where I live, sometimes guys kiss girls. And it's a big thing because the little homeschoolers go to school and the kid doesn't fit in, but then he kind of learns. But then he kisses the girl and then she becomes a slut. And like, I think at the end, the homeschoolers go back to school and it's like, look what happened to your daughter, Papa. She's a slut.
Oh my god.
Oh man. Do you know what's really wild? It's the Pip episode of South Park where they do his backstory and it's like this weird fucked up version of Great Expectations.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It's such a weird episode. And it's so very much them too. It's like I think it's so the kind of I don't know how to describe it, but it ekes their like weird style, you know, where it seems all normal. Then at the end, it's like the Genesis device, and I will steal her youth for my own. Ha ha ha. And I'm like,
That was a
oh
lot
man.
of like the first 4 or so seasons, just like a lot of random stuff where it's like uh grasping at humor and sometimes it was actually funny.
Yeah, that stuff. I'm a mark for that stuff. It works on me. I know. We were watching the Halloween episode the other night, and not everyone was into it, but that's like I love it when they do the stupid corn powers, and they're like,
Oh
that didn't
yeah.
do anything. Like, yeah, it's just fun to do.
There's a lot of like early 2000s stuff with that kind of humor. Tends to be hit or miss for me. Like I can kind of tell why a lot of people probably like disengaged from television when they started seeing a lot of that. But I guess if you're only getting it from like one source, like maybe the only show you watch is South Park, then it's okay. It's less offensive.
Yeah, and I think it's also aided by the fact that I found South Park like way after the fact. Like, I think
Oh yeah.
I picked up South Park because of like unironically Wow. I think the Wow episode of South Park, and then I saw the Ginger episode of South Park.
Those
Uh,
were very widely discussed episodes, like outside of any context that I could ever see South Park being discussed by people.
yeah, they really broke the cultural into the mainstream there.
Yeah.
And then the N-word guy episode that was pretty wild too.
Didn't they
Um,
win an award for that or something? Or is that like one of those internet lies?
I don't know. I know they've won several awards for South Park, which is funny. I know it's an Emmy award-winning show for sure. I just don't know which episodes have won Emmys. But they like to throw that on the screen sometimes when they're doing a really juvenile joke. uh, Man, that Scientology episode was so good too. They had a lot of bangers. I had a Zune MP3 player that also had like they could like multimedia. So I remember I had to do summer school one year. So I would load up like South Park episodes and I would sit out
Ooh.
because we would get done at noon, but my mom wasn't picking me up till like 3 or 4. So me and Mark would sit outside and we each take a headphone and we would watch South Park on out there because there are no teachers around to tell us not to because it's summertime. The teachers aren't staying around to enforce God rules. Not in the
Yeah.
summer. I remember a few times too, we went and like walked down the road through the woods to get to the Target, not to do anything, just to not be bored. And it was really lame too because like I only had to do one thing. But then this person totally sold me out. The lady who was calling my mom to be like, they have to do summer school. You should send them to summer school for math too, because if my child got this grade in math, I'd make them do summer school. And my
Oh
mom's like,
no.
sure. Um, but the English summer school was like self-paced booklets. So I finished it in like 2 weeks. The
Mm.
math summer school was taught by a teacher and could not be skipped ahead. So we had to be there for the whole 6 weeks. Um, and I did come out with a stronger understanding of math. And it was kind of funny too, because like I found out that year that like there were some kids who just liked that more. And so would just not give a shit all year in math on purpose because they could have fun and then just learn it in the summer when they had a class size of like 3 people.
So
Yeah.
that sounds like a, compelling case for compulsory summer school. Like lessen the workload for the rest of the year, and then whatever is taken out, kids have to learn in the summer,
Or even
or at
just
least
smaller class sizes and have people like rotating through, like, I don't know. Because
probably. I'm just approaching it from like how things were when I was homeschooled, and it was pretty much like that. Like it would have just been like me and two siblings almost, and there would be a subject that's self-paced and then something that is like more deliberate, but also no breaks. Like there is no concept of summer school at all.
interesting. I would be I loved my summers, having doing nothing. Although it probably is better to not have 3 months of the year where you just brain rot. Um,
Yeah, maybe.
but it is enjoyable. I have like pretty unrestricted access to the internet, so my parents not being there, it was a good time for me. Even better once we got cable and I could like be on the phone with my friends while we're online at the same time.
Oh yeah,
Because dial up you couldn't do that, which is such a wild concept nowadays.
very. I remember like trying to download ROMs on dial-up or DSL, and then being told I have to get off the internet because someone has to make an important call. And it's like, but I'm downloading Final Fantasy VII right now.
Yeah, and you were not pausing and resuming that later, unless you were into torrenting already. Which
No, that came way after,
yeah,
almost out of necessity.
yeah, I got lucky. I had people in my Warcraft guild who taught me how to pirate. Um, because they're like, oh, we're gonna play this other game called Baldur's Gate. Do you want to play? And I'm like, what? Okay, yeah, sure. And it's like, okay, well, go download it here. And then I learned all about how to pirate games and stuff. And I would pirate all the games that I could try to run on my shitty computer. I had a Dell, and it
Same.
only had PCI slots, not PCIe slots, not
Right.
what was it, AGP slots, I think. What's that the name of them, or was it something else? I can't hear AGP anymore. I just hear autogenophilia because my brain's 4chan rotted um, from being on 4chan years ago. But yeah, there's some other slot because now it's like all PCIe slots.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was PCI slots. I could not get a good card. I got the best card that I could fit in it, and it was still garbage. All it did was make it a bit easier to watch video files. So I was very sad. So I couldn't run tons of games. I could run older games pretty good. I could, SNES emulate pretty good. I did not realize how bad I was running WoW for a long time. Like I thought 12 FPS was normal until,
Oh, same. I got
yeah.
super used to that.
And until one time I was like talking to my friend. I'm like, man, sometimes when I'm like in a house, everything will go like, it'll be like the Matrix or something. And like everything's like all smooth and wow. It's like, wait, do you mean your frame rate goes up? And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like hover over that bar. What's it say? And I'm like 12. And then they're just like clowning on me. They're like, anything below 30 is trash. I can't believe you play the game like that.
Wow, it's very interesting how we used to have 30 as a standard, and then everyone moved up to 60, and now everyone's like saying 120 or I cannot play, which is outrageous. Like, I don't even think my eyes can see 120.
Yeah, for a long time I didn't realize. So I was using like an HDMI cord on my monitor. That for some reason, I don't know if it was like the generation of cord, it was capped to like 60 hertz. So I didn't when man, it was only a few years back. Well, I say a few years. Now it's been like 5 years. But like I was like, oh wait, if I use a DisplayPort cord, I can get 144 hertz on my monitor. And I'm like, wow, everything's so smooth. The game has changed.
I
Uh,
had something like that happen too. I didn't notice until someone was watching me play Devil May Cry 4, and they were like, "It's not supposed to look like that." And then once I, got the right cord for the screen I was using, it was like, "Oh, that's what it's supposed to look like? Oh my gosh."
yeah. I was just like, everyone's always talking about how they're getting 100 frames. Is my card bad? I thought my
Yeah.
card was good. Oh no, it's just user error. Um,
It's kind of like how there's a bajillion different kinds of USB now. So, like, you can't just rely on the, like, catch-all term of USB-C. It's gotta be the right USB-C for all of those extra special features like fast charging or display or,
oof,
like, fast data speeds.
yeah, quite the minefield. Although I'm glad to see everything going and getting like a standardized port because it was so frustrating having like USB C coexist with what was it, micro USB or
Yeah. USB, B?
and then whatever that old chunky one was that the Blue Yeti is. Like I think mini USB or whatever. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah. That was, like, also used for, printers for the longest time.
yeah, printers are famously annoying and hard to work with. One of my professors in college did their computer science dissertation and something to do with encoding special characters to printers,
Mm.
which is kind of cool a little bit.
I never knew printers needed something like that. That's interesting.
Yeah. But he's a pretty old guy. So this could have been a long ass time ago. Like I
Like
think,
pre-Unicode or something like that.
yeah, I know this would have been at least like at least working with like dot matrix printers still.
Right.
Um, and he did some work with like the Department of Defense and computer science stuff too. I don't really know what because he couldn't really say, but like it sounded cool. He
Don't you
was
love
a
that when someone's like, "Yeah, I used to work for this super secret organization you can't talk about, and I also can't tell you anything about what I did."
and it's probably the most mundane shit. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
you never know. So I mean, maybe it was crazy and cool. Maybe maybe he saw the aliens. You know, he's reverse engineering the craft. You know that the biggest reason I know that the U.S. government doesn't have alien bodies, or if they do, they at least aren't telling the president because Trump would not keep that secret.
Definitely not. It would be a good way to, like, turn on, his constituency, though. Like, "Oh, the deep state is real. Look what they hid from everyone."
The weather machines were real, and we got them from aliens. Yeah, you know what I do love in stories? I love in stories where when there's magic and it immediately gets capitalism. Because if magic was real, you know capitalism would be on it. You would have CEOs cursing each other, uh, weird bullshit hexes. Like, it would be all over that.
Oh yeah,
There's
that's kind
no
of
way.
like half the plot of Bloodborne.
I have never played Bloodborne. Never gotten around to it. I like Dark Souls 1 a lot. I'd never beaten Dark Souls 2 or 3, but I have played them. But Bloodborne I never got around to, mostly because they've never brought it to PC.
Yeah, it's one of those games that they refuse to acknowledge. Maybe the game is like built on perpetual spaghetti code or something, but it will live and die on PS4.
And I could play it on PS5, but using a console, when you get used to using a PC again and having the freedom of like hopping in and out from activity to activity really easily and quickly, it's kind of hard to go back to a console.
True. At this point, my consoles are used exclusively for like those AAA experiences that tend to get kneecapped on PC, like EA games or Ubisoft games, aside from like whatever few exclusives still remain.
Mhm. That's pretty much what I use them for too. And even like the exclusives now, they come to PC after a year. But sometimes I can't wait. Sometimes I like to get on the Spider-Man 2 train while it's hot.
Yeah, I am holding out for Spider-Man 2. Need that PC port yesterday because I refuse to buy a PS5.
Yeah, I'm already. At this point, I wouldn't get a PS5 if I didn't already have it. Definitely not getting a Pro. I got the PS4 Pro. Quite was pretty happy with the PS4 Pro.
Yeah, I love that thing. I love its little sandwich design too. Feels very unique.
And I'm pretty sure I kept at least one of my PS4 Pros as well after I replaced them. I think I traded one in because we got two, one for me and one for my partner, so
Right.
that we could be like, no one wants to share a screen, and most games don't even let you do that anymore.
Yeah, which is crazy.
The death of couch co-op sucks. Couch co-op is great. At least it was great. It's hard to imagine being used to playing on such tiny screens now because they're so spoiled by giant screen size.
Oh yeah, I finally managed to scam someone into doing a couch co-op in Borderlands 3 with me, and it was miserable. Oops.
I was watching the last season of Young Sheldon the other day because we like to watch episodes of it, with dinner.
Right.
Um, and there's a bit where like a neighbor character has bought a TV. Their wife has bought a TV with some money that they found during the staying. He's feeling guilty about it. But anyway, they're unpacking the TV, and it's like, how big is that? It's like 27 inches. It's like being in the movie theater. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Totally true. I had a little tiny 11-incher TV in my bedroom. Uh, and I read subtitles on that thing from my bed. I don't know how, but I did. Maybe young eyes, or maybe they made them bigger or something. But I was about that TV.
I definitely had a bad habit of sitting way too close to whatever small TV I had when I was younger. A lot of early Netflix was spent sitting in front of that CRT that was probably way too small to be displaying that HD content,
Yeah.
but that's what we had. Nowadays, I feel like 32 inches are luxurious. Like, I do not want for anything bigger than that if I can help it. Maybe
See,
if I do decide I want something larger, I'll get a projector.
interesting. I I like to go up to like, not, I don't leave it quite at 32. I think I go into the 40-inch range, but not much more than that. I don't like paying a lot for a TV.
Yeah.
I'm kind of stingy on TV uh like purchases. I'm not going out and buying like an OLED TV that's huge or anything. Not anything against it. OLEDs are probably actually super great. And I probably should get an OLED at some point just because it'll make dark movies look better.
I
But at
do
the
love
same,
it for that. Like, that one scene in Order of the Phoenix when they're at the Ministry of Magic. Fuck J.K. Rowling, by the way, a terrible person. But I love that part of that movie because the blacks are so deep in like every frame of that part of the movie.
Yeah.
On an OLED, it's like, wow, this is what it's supposed to look like. The colors pop and like all the effects are like immaculate with the little magic particles and such.
Yeah. It does kind of make me a little hungry for it. But I always go back to forgetting. I did not get on the Switch OLED train because I just don't play enough Switch to have justified that purchase. But
Oh, I bet it's
I,
great for that because it's like smaller resolution, so there's less for the display to wrestle with when it comes to singling out the colors.
mhm. I heard good things about it, especially for games like Metroid Dread and stuff, where they kind of have darker color palettes.
Oh,
But
are there any Silent Hill games on the Switch? I bet it would be great for that.
I feel like there have to be because like they love to release old games on the Switch because people love to buy a game they already own, but they can play it anywhere.
Yeah, it's just Silent Hill is Konami, and Konami has been on a big anti-money track lately,
Ooh,
where they just do not release games. For the longest time, they weren't making any, and now they've suddenly decided, oh yeah, we need money. Oops.
Silent Hill 2 remake or whatever was the big thing like I don't know a month ago.
Yep, they remade Silent Hill 2, and it wasn't terrible, shockingly.
Yeah, I saw I only saw a little bit of it, 'cause I saw Toya streaming it, and I popped in to say hi, just or not even to say hi, mostly just to voyeur because, like, that guy makes me laugh because, I've been in servers with him, and he only exists there to post a stream link
Oh yeah,
and
he's one of those
sometimes
guys.
argue drunk.
Yeah.
And I do not watch him regularly, but it made me, I don't know. I just popped in because I don't think anything was going on. I needed background noise, and I saw Silent Hill 2, and I was like, "Oh, everyone's talking about this game." Um, and it was about what I mean, I've never played a Silent Hill game, so I didn't really have expectations. But when I think of it, I think of like Fog and Grays and Resident Evil. Um, and so it did kind of look exactly like I expected.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. It almost is kind of like the weird cousin of Resident Evil, almost like where Resident Evil veered into being like a big action oriented arcadey sort of series. Silent Hill's more recent entries before Konami just like stopped making them for some reason started becoming more like if Resident Evil were like Smallville, Silent Hill is Supernatural,
Okay.
where like every escalation just became like more cerebral, but also gave more attention to like specific character moments as opposed to like the broader strokes of like the mysticalness of the thing.
Mhm.
You would still have like the baseline concept of, oh, there's a place called Silent Hill, and it's like a sentient, spooky town that will mess with you. But it never
What's
like became bombastic.
what's the deal with that Pyramid Head guy? Because I see him. He's like the Silent Hill thing that crosses over into other media, like Dead by Daylight and stuff.
That's a character I think specific to Silent Hill 2. It's supposed to be like a metaphor for the main characters. I guess what would be the right way to describe it? Like, I guess his self perception, like the id almost.
Man, they're getting good when the horror starts getting heady.
Yeah. It is funny to see that character appear in other things though, because it's like, oh, uh, so is James also here? Nope, just Pyramid Head.
He just looks too cool to be confined
Yeah.
to where he belongs.
There's that one that's like all of the it has all of the franchises in it. And it got headlines because I guess they like really caked up the pyramid head model in that one game.
Yeah, yeah. Dead by Daylight, I think, is unless there's another one, but I know Dead by Daylight puts everything in it.
It might just be that one. Yeah.
Like I think they even got like a xenomorph recently. I don't think it's a character, but it's like a costume for a character, like
Oh,
a skin kind of. I played that game a little bit. I don't love it. It's kind of fun. It's like an asymmetrical PvP game. Um,
okay.
you like there's a killer and then four survivors, and you have these engines you have to repair and turn on, and that opens the exit, and then you can leave. And the killer can break the engines and can also kill you and like hook you up on a thing, and you can be rescued or you die. And there's a lot of little specifics to it and different like abilities and things, and all the killers are different. It is not like I don't think it's like a super scary game. I don't quite love the aesthetic of it. I don't like that there's like a grimy kind of horror aesthetic to it that just like I don't I don't know. I don't
Like
love
it's
it.
more meat than atmosphere in
Yeah,
terms of design.
kinda. Kinda. It's like I don't know. The I guess like Texas Chainsaw Massacre comes to mind when I think of how like the aesthetic looks. And I'm not like a Chainsaw Massacre hater, but I also don't like love it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not something that I would adorn my walls with.
yeah. But
I've never played
it's
that particular game, but I have played games like it where I guess someone probably looked at Dead by Daylight and then said, "Oh, we could do that." And there's like a Killer Clowns from Outer Space version of that, and a
yep,
Friday the 13th version of that. And I've
yep.
played those, but I've never played the one that I guess everyone else is playing.
Yeah, it's well, I don't even know. I think it's pretty popular because it still keeps getting content.
Yeah.
Um,
They put some Resident Evil characters in it.
oh yeah, I mean they've got like everything in there.
Oh yeah, and Capcom made one of their own, bundled with Resident Evil 3 Remake, Reverse, which was pretty cool. Wish they, like, kept patching it up and, like, making it not bad.
God, they even had a Dragon Ball asymmetrical PvP game. Um,
Oh, yeah, where, like, you're being chased by Cell?
yeah, I never played it, but I just thought it was wild that it existed.
Yeah, having played all of those other games, I took one look at that and said, "No, thank you."
Yeah, I don't need to get sucked into another PvP game. Right
Yeah.
now, I have my PvP game, and that's Call of Duty 6. I pop in, I do some matches, I pop out, and I draw, and I keep a balance
Oh,
with
I'm
that.
jealous. I, purchased Call of Duty 6 on PC, couldn't run it on my machine, found out that there is a PS4 port, and I just keep forgetting to pick up a copy.
PC can't run it. That's like it just can't run it well or can't run it at all.
For some reason, the main, like, COD app just won't launch anymore, and I don't know if it was just, like, day 1 bugs or something sustained over the course of a whole week, but I wasn't gonna wait
Possibly.
to find out. I went to Steam and I said, "Check
Give me
my
my money.
playtime. I have not gotten an opportunity literally to play this game. Refund, please," and they obliged.
Yeah, I would do that too. So it's having that. I love the donkey video where he's clowning on it for having all those bugs. And then at the start of every video now, he's like, "Don't worry, guys, the COD video is coming once the game launches." And then someone predicted that he's just going to keep doing that until next year when the new COD drops. And then he'll do a gag where he's like, "It's finally running." And then it'll be the new one.
Oh, that's funny. I don't like that they like have put everything into their little launcher because I think I've been seeing other people playing Black Ops 6, but Discord has been registering it as Modern Warfare 3. And I'm like, there's no way everyone's playing Modern Warfare 3. It wasn't that great.
Yeah. Honestly, I fell off the last COD game too. I usually fall off them after a bit. I do kind of hate that they get away with selling the same game over and over and over.
Yeah.
Even though it's better sometimes than others. And I know I have no one to blame but myself because I keep buying it. But my friends play and I want to play with my friends. And
that's how they get you, yeah.
Yeah. They damn. But another
there are also people who like see every release as like a new opportunity to redo their ranks. So you have like weirdos who are like, "Oh boy, now I can finally redo all 100 of my weapon prestiges." And it's like, no, get another hobby.
Yeah, I spent a long time on the especially when I was younger and in college. I In the first Call of Duty, I got so into prestiging. For a while, I was dead set on going the full 15 prestiges, but I don't think I did. I think I stopped about 9 or 8 because then the new COD came out and I was like, "Well, fuck. They're going to come out every year. I'm never doing this again."
Yeah, I'm really lazy when it comes to those kinds of ranking systems. Like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has its own little ranking system where you have different seasons, and every season has a bunch of different like levels to it for like the specific gameplay types that you can opt into, but also like the wider world for that season. And you raise your rank in the season to get better loot, but you're still expected to like do better through the ranks without the loot. So it's like, well, then why do I need that loot? So I just quit. Like, I can't do this for however long they want me to do it. Once I reach like rank 5, I just give up.
Hmm. Yeah, I the same way. I just don't want to invest massive amounts of time into that kind of thing.
Maybe if they were
Um,
paying me money or something.
Hell yeah, I'd love to be paid money to rank up in COD. We can work something out.
Yeah.
Yeah, another thing I like about COD is because it's so kind of like pretty mindless. I listen to audiobooks playing COD a lot.
Oh, I
Uh,
bet that's fun.
yeah, it really increases my audiobook time whenever so I can do audiobooks when I'm drawing sometimes if I'm not like writing and drawing.
Right.
If I have to be like coming up with a scene, then I can't really because I can't keep track of whatever's happening in the story. But if I'm just inking or coloring, then I can have at it. But yeah, audiobooks with COD are a pretty great match. Speaking of games, uh I've been playing that Dragon Ball Sparking Zero game.
How has that been like to play? Because I remember it looked interesting when they first announced it. Then some stuff came out that seemed like it was going to launch broken, but apparently that's not happening.
Yeah, I've not played online. Apparently online sucks because people are big losers and like to disconnect the second it doesn't go their way, which is
Oh yeah, that happens in Tekken too. I hate it.
yeah. It's a pretty technical game. I feel like it's like there's it took me a long time to get through. Like I struggle bus through some of the story until I had played a couple days to get used to like the timing on stuff.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of guarding. guarding at specific times, like right before you get hit, will make you like teleport, or like you could you can guard against a lot of things in a lot of different ways. So I imagine in PvP that makes reading the opponent quite a skill thing,
Yeah.
similar to like fighting games. But the storyline's been fun because they don't make you do tons of bullshit. They like throw you through each of the characters' big fights, but there's also like secondary requirements you can meet, and if you meet them, you can go like on alternate story routes, which is fun.
Ooh.
Some of them are really hard, and some are not. Um, One I was trying to do the other day is this piccolo one, and I kept getting so close. And then I Googled it, and it turns out it's actually just a really tight one because, like, you can't out level it because they give you a character for the mission with like certain skills. So you have to work within that framework and
Uh,
just figure it out. But it is fun. The more you learn to like take advantage of the little mechanics to squeeze in the damage is really fun. And as I've gotten good at it, although I am pacing myself on it, I don't like play like I've only done one of the story campaigns and like half of another. Um, and there's like a lot of them. So I don't know how many more characters are going to get them, but there's at least like eight, I think, eight or nine that I have right now that I can play through. Which is like a lot of characters and stuff. And it's not just the good guys. Like you can play through the Frieza side. You can play through the Cell side. Goku Black and
and
stuff.
they're all
So
like voice over it and stuff.
yeah, yeah. Well, some have little scenes, and boy, I skip most of them to be honest because I've seen all the plot so many times.
Yeah.
Some are like screenshots and like a series of screenshots, and it's pretty kind of silly. And then some get like full animated bits, which look really good.
Okay.
But I skip most of that. I just really enjoy seeing the breadth of fighters, especially like some of the ones from Super that like I've not ever gotten to play in a game before. Like Tournament of Power people I've never played in a game before because I didn't play Xenoverse 2 when they started dropping every character from Super in it. And I know they've already announced at least one character from Daima, that Glorio character or whatever, Glory
Oh
Hole,
yeah.
whatever his name is. uh, he's gonna be in it, which is cool. That actually was what pushed me over the edge. I'm like, wait, you mean the characters from the new thing I'm watching right now are gonna be in this game soon? Well, now I've got to buy it. No
That's how
choice.
they got me to buy Pirate Warriors 4. It was like right in the middle of Wano, and I was gonna ignore the game, but then they started adding Wano characters. I'm like, gotta get Pirate Warriors 4.
That is how they get you.
Yeah.
And I like too that I guess some of the character, and this doesn't affect me because I'm never going to play online really that much, but even like the low tier characters can be good. Like Yajirobe, for like how much he costs to put on your team, is like a really clutch character apparently. I guess he has Senzo beans and he can heal up and do some other stuff, which is like
Ooh.
wild. I guess you can't customize move sets on the characters, but to kind of compensate for it, there's lots of versions of every character. So like you
I
kind of
think
play
I
the
heard that
version.
there are like a dozen Gokus or something.
Yeah, they go early Goku, mid Z Goku, Super Saiyan Goku, Super Saiyan 2 Goku, Super Saiyan 3 Goku.
Wow.
Every version under the sun, a bunch of them. It boasts over like 180 fighters, but half of them are Goku. I think I saw a video where someone actually did count up the total unique characters, and it is still something like 80, which is a lot.
That is a
Uh,
lot. That's crazy. I guess not unusual for an anime game.
I think it's you kind of have to do that now. Been so many Dragon Ball Z games. Like if you want to stand out, you kind of got to do something like that. You know, like Dragon Ball Fighters gets away with having its roster, which is still quite large, um, because it's just such a polished fighting game. It would be hard
Yeah.
to implement more characters in a game like that.
It's outrageous that they never added Pan. No Pan, no buy, I always say. But it looked that good. Had to pick up fighters.
Yeah, and they put Kid Goku from GT in there. So they should have had her. Should have had
Yeah.
her. And GT Goku was OP too, is from what I hear. People
Oh yeah, that
were
game is a mess. It's all over the place.
yeah, I've not played in a while. Fighting games are kind of they're a really interesting genre because of how much they can change over the patch life cycle.
Yeah.
Like really big changes to the gameplay, like how assists work can get changed. Um, it can be hard to come back to them if you fall out.
But also fun. Like if you ignore a game for a year and maybe it wasn't fun when you first played it, but then the newest version, it's like got all the like annoying stuff taken out. So it is like playing a whole new game.
That is very true. A whole new game you don't even have to buy again.
Yeah.
And I tend to buy like when a fighting game comes out, I'll buy the season pass like at the beginning. And
I started to do that, but companies have been doing this thing now where even after the season pass, they still find ways to nickel and dime you for stuff.
oh yeah, they'll
So if I'm not like fully invested, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait for the game of the year version or whatever it's gonna be because this is ridiculous.
oh yeah, Street Fighter is especially notorious for that.
Yeah. Which maybe I should be a bit more forgiving because usually in Street Fighter's case, it just tends to be like 5 different packs of costumes that I probably don't need, but I want them at a fair price.
Yeah. The costumes are big though. The costumes are big. It's
Yeah.
neat to be a little different.
It's nice to play Street Fighter, but pretend you're playing Darkstalkers. Wow, they put Morrigan in Street Fighter? Nope, that's Juri Han dressed as Morrigan.
I'll take it. It's about as close as you'll get to having a Darkstalkers game these days.
Yeah. Which is crazy because it feels like something like that would kill. What do we have to do? Like, do a Kickstarter to get a Darkstalkers designed and developed by like Arxis or something? Are those the only ones who will do it?
I don't know. Maybe they're worried that the other character, like, they're like, damn, can we really sell a game off Morgan alone? Well, not just Morgan. You got Lilith too. But
Morgan, Lilith, BB Hood, Lord Raptor. I would love to play like a Lord Raptor action game, like something that plays like Devil May Cry. That would be awesome.
I love it when they take characters from fighting games and they throw them into a different genre. Um, I've not played a lot of this, but I did buy it. But Blaze Blue has like Entropy, which is like a side scroller
Yeah.
kind of shooter game, and that's neat because I really like those character designs. So being able to do something else with them is fun.
Mortal Kombat kind of had something like that for a while. Shaolin Monks, I think it was called, was like a adventure brawler. That was pretty cool. Oh, and then they had the Tekken Force modes in those Tekken games.
Tekken is probably my biggest fighting game blind spot because I don't think I ever had a Tekken game as a kid. Or even in college, not really. I've had friends that played it, but yeah, no, I mean I played like all the other big franchises that I can, like the really big ones, like the Virtua Fighter or Mortal Kombat, Street
Yeah.
Fighter or Guilty Gear or whatever. I've not played some of the other like anime fighters that are big, like never played Samurai Showdown or anything like that.
I
Um,
don't think like hardly anyone has played Samurai Showdown because they had entries for that series that were like attempts at 3D that didn't sell like at all. And the 2D ones for the longest time were actually hard to actually for people to get their hands on aside from ports. So that makes sense. Like if you've played Samurai Showdown before like 2010, you're probably a weirdo who like went out of their way to play Samurai Showdown.
Probably true. I feel like I see a lot more. It's one of those games you see a lot of people talking about these days, but like not or maybe you don't see a lot of people talk. I feel like I see it come up on Twitter a fair amount, but
Every
that
now and
might
then,
just be
yeah.
fighting game heads
It
bringing
is a
it up.
bigger pool of people in the conversation now, which is cool.
I
Imagine a
just
universe where Virtua Fighter became like the big thing. That would be crazy.
It's so weird too because it even strikes me as like of all the kind of games like that, it strikes me as the knockoff one. You know, it feels like the fighting game you have at home.
Yeah.
I don't know which one it's most like. If it's like amongst the other ones, I don't really. It's been so long since I played it. I couldn't really compare it. I don't know. Is it like a? I can't remember if it's like a more Street Fighter ish
It
or
feels more like Dead or Alive to me, but like less like I don't want to say horny, but Dead or Alive is the horny one.
yeah.
Yeah, design sensibilities of Virtua Fighter are more grounded.
hmm Yeah, 100 for sure. They all look more like a costume you can kind of see a real person wearing in like an action movie or something.
Yeah.
You know what I liked as a kid and seemed to be really relevant as a kid, but seems to have fallen off in relevance is Soul Calibur.
Yeah, that's true. Not really sure why that happened. There was a brief period where I guess like between 4 and 5 where it was difficult to get into the series, but 5 should have like blown up bigger than it did.
Yeah, it. I think the last one I remember being like really big was the one that had like the Star Wars characters, and you had Yoda if you were on one version, and Darth Vader if you were on the other. I
Yeah.
think that was when I was in college, and I didn't even play that one, but I knew of it. And then if there was more after that, I never really saw them. I did buy like I remember on PS3, I had a collection that had like Soul Calibur like, 2 in it, I think, whatever the one that had Spawn and Link and the other person. I forget who was the other like add-on in that one. But I remember each console had its own character, and those were the two that we knew. There was one for PS2, but I can't remember what it was.
I think it was a Heihachi from
Oh, the
Tekken.
Tekken character, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that makes sense why I wouldn't remember it because I didn't play much Tekken. But they had some cool characters. I always liked that Volvo guy. I think was kind of freaky looking.
Yeah.
Just a lot of really cool characters.
That would have been Soul Calibur 2.
Yeah, I think that was the big one that we played, like at each other's houses. That and Halo and Halo 2. We had a couple of friends. I had a like couple different friends that had Xboxes, and so we could like land them together. So we could have 4 people on one TV and 4 people on another TV.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah, we were such we were such dweebs too. Like we'd be telling each other how to play and stuff. Like, guys, you can't reload every time you fire a single bullet. Okay, guys, you just gotta just don't do that. Wait until it's a safe time to reload. And like I don't know, we would get so cheesed at each other for like no reason. Um, or we play like silly game modes too. Like all rocket launchers is always a good time. but we never played online until I ended up getting like a 360 in college, just because we were not playing the original Xbox online or anything. I did have a friend that played Final Fantasy 11 on their PlayStation 2 or 3 or whichever one it was.
Oh, wow. Was that person, like, clinically insane?
Yeah, I don't think they played that long because it became untenable
Yeah.
because of how like hardcore that game is, kind of with having the group and stuff. Even I've never gotten super into it, but I have heard some very outlandish stories. Um, like there being a really rare piece of equipment that like got ninjaed from someone, but it's so rare and so like within the game, it doesn't look that special, but within the game, because they
Right.
don't have tons of appearance options, it is. So like I forget where I watched this. It was like a drama time video or something from like Preach or something, but they were talking about how they would have forums for the different realms and people would warn them like when that person transferred realms, people would find out, they'd make posts and be like, this guy is a piece of shit, and they'd ruin their reputation on every server they went to.
That's kind
uh,
of funny to think about, like, a game facilitating, one player, committing terrorist acts against other players, and then players having to, like, warn each other almost, like, "Hey, Jack the Ripper is joining your realm, watch out."
I mean, it was like that for real. I remember in Vanilla WoW, you could get like blacklisted from like the good players if you were a douchebag, because before cross realm became a big thing, the people, like, you had a set amount of people on your server with you, and you could not always transfer servers like
Right.
without a lot of work. So yeah, it mattered. Your reputation mattered. Now, so not so much, but they've also kind of accommodated for that by changing everything about how the game works. So
I definitely missed out on a lot of games like that. I think the longest I ever invested in an MMO was, like, very, 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 very early, 3D RuneScape, and, I mostly tried playing that game entirely solo. So, of course, I didn't last long.
yeah, I early 3D RuneScape was like my intro to MMOs, and from there it only got worse.
It
Um,
was the most accessible, you know, "Oh, Java? And it's free? Hell
in
yeah,
a
sign me up."
browser, the free was the big thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
It also didn't take, like, a bazillion hours to load. Like, I remember Electronic Arts had a web arcade of sorts, Pogo games, where they would have web versions of some of their, like, bigger franchise games. Like, there was a 3D SSX game that you could run in your browser, but it took, like, 2 hours to load, even though it was loading in the browser. And so RuneScape being able to just, like, I don't know if it was putting the game data in a cache or something, but it never took that long to actually boot up, which was incredible.
yeah, it's pretty performant in that regard. I
Yeah.
mean, it is just wild to think about how any 3D at all in your browser back then was pretty like whoa.
True. And the
Um,
different ways that people would try to implement it varied wildly.
no, MMOs are kind of a huge time sink, and part of why I don't play them that much anymore is just because like it feels bad to spend that much time in a thing and then like at the end of it really not have much to show for it. Aside from you have the satisfaction of having done things. But
Yeah.
like by far one of the wildest into those that regard. And this one's kind of weird because you can kind of like play it when you're not playing it a little bit. Is like Eve, because like the way you skill up in Eve, it is just time. Like you set a skill to be training, and it's like it will take X amount of time to get there. And sometimes it gets really long to get some of them. So like, yeah, that game's wild. I've never gotten super into it, but I've had friends who got really into it. And like the stories from it sound epic and insane, but it's like playing a spreadsheet. It always feels like a job.
Yeah, that's the thing that keeps me from actually looking too far into it because the minutia of things is a bit too much in terms of what I would want from a video game. Maybe a little bit of spreadsheet, but that game seems like a 70% spreadsheet core.
Yeah. And like it's not very high paced action at all. It is very much clicking an interface, being like, oh, orbit, target, shoot. Um, it's not very like you're not flying around a ship in a super immersive way or anything.
I think I
But
remember someone saying that drop shipping is more materially rewarding, which is I don't know if that was like a bit of black humor on their part or if that is indicative of like the end result of a whole Eve Online session.
I feel like there's some truth in that. It's always wild to me because they were one of the early ones to have a thing where you could use money to buy like game time and then sell the game time in game
Yeah.
for like money. So because of that, you get lots of news articles where like when big events happen and these big client like corporations, uh which are like basically their guilds, have their big wars and things happen, they will list out the dollar amount of things that got destroyed. And they'll make
Yeah.
headlines like that, and that's always wild. Those
This
stories
million
are very
dollar
neat.
space station is no more. And I can just imagine like NFT people seething when they see those numbers. They're probably like eye watering,
Oh man, I'm so glad NFTs are out the door.
or at least getting out of the door. Several companies are still clinging to them. Square has their fake NFT game thing, whatever it is. Ubisoft is still doing stuff.
Man, speaking of tech that is kind of going out the door, I know you've heard about this because you showed the link earlier. Do you want to maybe talk about the LLM stuff?
Yeah, it's very exciting. At least in my opinion, it seems like limited learning models are reaching like an absolute limit in terms of what they can learn, um, which is not really that much in terms of like lessening the use of AI, but it might lessen like the scraping efforts of organizations. They might be forced to put more effort into negotiating for specific information sources. But yeah, this article from what's his face, Gary Marcus, um, published on November 9th. The title is Confirmed LLMs Have Reached a Point of Diminishing Returns, where he references articles and talking points from Nautilus, a popular science journal, and some tweets from figures in the industry, specifically one Amir Efrati from a trade journal, The Information. Have you ever heard of The Information? I've never heard of this before.
Uh, I I heard about this from a computer file. I think
Okay.
like YouTube channel where they were interviewing someone who's like a academic in tech AI, and he was kind of just talking about what the paper said and what the implications would be. I've not heard of these publications, but it seems like they have generally the same takeaway,
Yeah.
which is that uh, AI is not just going to get better by throwing data in. And he got into some of the specifics about how kind of AI works, which is where they kind of tokenize all this data and it like throws it into this like encodes it somehow into like some mathematical space and then is able to process it like that. And because of like the ways it works, you can, it can make it really good for like certain general things. Like it can get really good at at maybe like a generic request,
Yeah.
like make a cat or make a black cat. But once you start getting more specific, it starts falling apart because uh it doesn't have like the data case is like too complicated. And
That's why it's best for like assisting search. Like
mhm,
AI is great for research because you still have to sort of like fill in the context yourself. But
yep.
generative AI, I guess that's it. Probably not going to get very better, which is good because I don't like it. The whole generative thing feels like a scam.
It kind of feels like they're just reversing the whole LLM. Like it's like they're doing the opposite of the categorization process a
Yeah.
little bit. And that kind of makes sense with how it works. But yeah, it is exciting because for a long time, all they've done is just add more data, add more data, add more data. And now it won't be worth it so much. They're going to actually have to really work on the underlying algorithm of like how it works. And I'm not like a AI doomer. I don't love generative AI, like you said, because I don't think it does. There's very few cases for it that I think like it's good for. I think
Yeah.
it's good for like revising stuff or like maybe touching up a thing or throw in your paper, be like,
And there are
add a,
targeted uses of like limited model AI that are really good. Like
mhm,
in animation, there are probably like different kinds of graphical adjustments that you may want to make in the pipeline that AI could just do for you. And
mhm,
that's like a controlled like use of that makes sense. But
yeah,
all this stuff of like give me a picture of Nico Robin from One Piece with huge balloon breasts, like enough of that.
yeah. And
Learn
I'm
to
so
draw.
so happy for this bubble to pop because just seeing what it's done to like spammy news website listicle writers, copywriters and stuff like that, it's kind of really fucked up those industries a bit, and it's just not good. It doesn't give you good output really, and it would be nice to see that kind of die because that is lame. I am a little sad though because now AI has just been ruined, like as a concept for a lot of people,
Yeah,
mostly artists that I know, because for obvious reasons, they feel threatened by it. Uh,
with good
and
reason, because
yeah,
it seems like that is the modus operandi of the people that are marketing it. Like it is meant to be a replacement for normal human created art.
and it totally isn't. Um,
Yeah.
I do think you get a lot of arguments for it, like people like then they talk about how all it does is steal, which is like kind of true but kind of not true. Like they do train it based off your stuff, but like fundamentally it's like not directly it's kind of similar to how humans even learn, but without the spark, I guess, because they're not as complicated as us yet,
Yeah,
right?
it's almost
Like
like scrapbooking if it were a slot machine.
Hmm. I'm excited for one day, maybe if we actually, way down the line, have like actually a human equivalent intelligence. Uh, that excites me, but I'm a big sci-fi head, so of course that excites me. But this stuff can go away, and I will not miss it. And maybe down the line, when we don't have live in such a capitalistic hellscape, it can come back in a way. Generative AI can return in a way that's more ethically sound and maybe good. Maybe actually with output that's worth having.
I'm not holding my breath for it if companies like Microsoft or Nvidia have anything to say about it, but it would be nice.
Yeah, I do feel like uh Wayland Yutani, this depiction in Aliens is probably a lot closer to the reality that we're gonna get. But sadly, there probably won't be a giant monster to fuck up their day, like they deserve.
What I would want in terms of a potential sci-fi future is something akin to the Wipeout universe, where we just have like NASCAR with cool hovering cars. And for people who are fans of the Wipeout series, or even just like that whole genre of racer, there is a, design art book coming out soon called Wipeout Futurism: The Visual Archives. I'm mentioning it now because it releases December 3rd this year in 2024, and pre-orders are available on Amazon at a reduced price. It'll be retailing for $60, but you can get it for like $49 right now. And I highly recommend it because there's a lot of unique art in there that you probably could just download for free on the internet somewhere, but I like having the context for design decisions when I can get it. So that's why I buy stuff like that. It's going to be chock full of notes from the artists, inspirations that they're pulling from, some in-universe contexts for like the different corporate designs or like the designs for the different corporations. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, I absolutely love books like these. I've got, uh, I know I mentioned before, I've got like a pretty large collection of like art books and like comics and things like that. This stuff is like right my jam, especially when it includes discussion of like the thought process that went in to making it. I've always been a person who loves seeing how the sausage is made, especially in media. And yeah, this stuff is wild.
And also critical notes for anyone that wants to get into art on a technical level without the aid of AI, because it is possible.
Yeah, yeah.
Some of
It's
that stuff probably looks like something that one could get from AI, but it's very deliberate and you can do it with your own hands.
hmm I always hate when people are like, "Oh, it democratizes art." Art was already democratized. You could just
Yeah.
do art.
Like,
You
what's
could,
that meme? GIMP is free as in beer or something.
yeah, it 100%. You pencil and paper is like cheap. It's not, there's nothing stopping
Yeah.
people except their own willingness to do it. Um, it seems daunting and it can be, and I think a big part of it too is culturally we don't make it easy for people to pick up new hobbies. Um,
True.
if people do you like and maybe this is in my head, but I don't feel like it is. I feel like there's like an expectation that if you're an adult and you're doing a thing, you be good at it. And to be bad at a thing is somehow childish, even if you're new at the thing. If you do art that looks bad, people look at you like you're a kid, kind of. Um,
I think it tends to vary. Like, there's a median age where that is very prevalent, probably like in the 30 to 40 age range. But I feel like if you're 60 and getting into a hobby, everyone's like, "Oh, good for you. Great job. You can do it."
Yeah, no, for sure. But now, but then they're like kind of they're it's kind of like the reverse of it. They're kind of patronizing you for being old. They're like, "Oh, it's so
Yeah,
nice that you're still keeping active in your autumn years."
it's very weird.
Yeah. Uh but you can do it and you should do it. And more people should do art. It's good and it's fun. Um
Yeah.
as long as you don't like doom over the fact that like it's hard to make a living off it, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of part of the problem, the whole, like, need to monetize everything. Um, I
Mhm.
definitely get it, though, like, a lot of that kinda stuff requires a lot of, personal investment, and so it would be good to get something back from that investment, but it shouldn't be a requirement.
Mhm. A lot of people don't you need to start off kind of at I feel like if you start off with it as a de-stressor, you'll hit whatever goals you have eventually if you keep up with it.
Yeah.
Like about persistence. And like for some people, it really does work for them to sit down and grind, like as if it was a job, and they turn it into a job. My brain doesn't work that way. I can't do that. I've always wanted to do that, but I can't do that. I have to make it enjoyable for me, or else I won't keep coming back to it.
Yeah, it has to be fun first.
Hmm. And I think, and over the years, like I feel like I'm trying to remember when I really started drawing a lot again. And I think it was like my mid-ish 20s, I kind of started dabbling back into it. And then really the last like 3 or 4 years, really heavily on it. Um and just when I think it's like the storytelling bug. It is what did it for me. Because some people really get into like making OCs
Yeah.
or just drawing characters or stuff. But I never really got super into that. I need to have like I like putting a story around it. If I'm like trying to make a story, then I can come up with a character that's gonna be in there. Like I remember a long time ago I was working on a comic that I ended up dropping, but it was gonna be like a weird Power Ranger spoof, and I had designed like a
Ooh,
VHS villain because like the person was gonna have like throw it away a VHS and is gonna end up at like a landfill and get mutated into a giant VHS villain. And I never would have made that in a vacuum, but
yeah.
trying to make a cheesy, very like corny Power Rangers villain, bam, and it's kind of like how restraint brings ideas to you or something. When I strain it to a
True.
story context, I could come up with ideas better. And plus, it's just fun to tell stories. And I know you can tell a story with like a single art piece that you can like throw in lots of details and you can like, have a scene in progress. But um, I don't know. I've always liked storytelling. As a kid, I always wanted to write books, but I was too visually minded for it because I wanted to show because I grew up on movies and stuff more so than reading. So
Right.
my brain just worked that way. But you can't just make a movie because like movies take whole teams. But comics are this like super perfect medium where you can be an okay drawer and an okay writer and mix it together and somehow be a better than okay comic person.
Many such cases. Yeah, that is true. It's definitely something that I guess shifts based on the capability of the person working on it. Like the Aragon guy, when he made that, was like super young, but that was his thing. He just like loved writing and was like keyed into the whole literature thing, even though like a lot of adults probably looked at his prose and said, I don't know about that. But he wasn't selling to them. He was selling to other kids like us.
Yeah. And I remember I always thought it was so fucking cool that
Yeah,
that he has published. That they made a movie based off his book. What? Even though the movie wasn't that great.
it was pretty
Um,
bad. Yeah.
every now and then I go back to it. Uh, I think most recently it's just my partner hadn't seen it, so we watched it, and she was like, "Oh wow." If I and maybe I have seen that and I just forgot it because it was not that memorable. Um, and people memed on it a lot for being kind of for ripping off a lot of or not even ripping off, but for using a lot of star like comic tropes that are in Star Wars. It's like, come on, I mean, it's not like Star Wars is super original. Like these tropes, Star Wars is like the poster child for taking classic tropes and dressing them up in a new story and coming out with something good.
True.
If you want to make fun of it for not being good, fair, but don't make fun of it for using classic tropes because everyone does that.
Yeah. My favorite comparison of that type is one of those Kingdom Hearts stories feels very much like, oh, these guys just watched the Star Wars prequels, didn't they? I think it was Birth by Sleep. It feels very young Jedi is corrupted by the allure of the Sith. And it's like, oh,
The dark,
wait, this is a
they,
Disney game. What the heck? But also, Disney owns Star Wars now, so the loop is closed, I guess.
I can't. Will Kingdom Hearts 4 have a Star Wars though?
Oh, that would be interesting and annoying. They'll probably do it.
I am so behind on honestly after Kingdom Hearts 2, I never really got back on board the Kingdom Hearts train. Like I have 3, my partner has played more 3 than me. I watched videos about it and the lore, and that's interesting, but I've not gone and played much. I played the first 2 and Chain of Memories and really liked them, but the gap between 3 was way too long, and then I just didn't have like I got my DS late. Like, and I never even really did the original DS. I went straight to like the 3DS
Right.
basically. So, I never went back and played those games. And then I know there's like other consoles too, like a phone thing that's not super important supposedly, but is there.
Yeah, not super important, but also contains very lore critical information that you cannot get anywhere else. Like it sets up the whole thing with Ansem's computer in two.
Oh my goodness. That is that's
Yeah,
it's like comic book levels of retconning. I
true.
appreciate it. I appreciate the craft.
Oh wait, I'm misremembering. I thought you were talking about the super old phone Java games, but you're talking about the smartphone games.
I didn't even realize there were 2 different ones. Holy crap.
Yeah. Uh, like way back in the early 2000s, there were old Japanese Java phone games that almost looked and played like the PS2 games, and then they remade that for the DS. It was released as Kingdom Hearts Recoded, and that's the one with like the whole like data is everything in Kingdom Hearts implications for like how that appears in the series. But yeah, the smartphone games, all of that is like wackadoo, crazy, like uh in a time before time nonsense. Like in a galaxy far away, everyone had a keyblade, pretty much. My favorite
Yeah.
thing from that mobile game is that like it implies that Zigbar has been there the whole time. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense because wasn't Zigbar also one of those like uh, King's Guard guys uh, from Hollow Bastion? It's very confusing and it feels like a retcon, but we have to wait to find out.
I can't remember who made it, but I remember seeing a Kingdom Hearts video a long time ago, and it was like the lore explained, but it was pretty funny. It was this guy, and I think he, for part of the video, he even went out like into the middle of nowhere in the woods. He's like the gag is like, I'm out here because if anyone saw me talking Kingdom Hearts lore, it'd be embarrassing. It was very silly, but he was very sarcastic about it. But it was really well put together little video. I wish I could remember who made it so I could plug it better. But I don't know. Kingdom Hearts brings that to mind for me.
That reminds me of a video that Mega 64 made once, where Rocco went in public, like dressed like what the typical Kingdom Hearts fan probably would have looked like back when 2 was new. And he was just explaining Kingdom Hearts lore to like strangers. And the range of responses was very funny. Some people would be like, "What? I don't care," but then like other people would get super into it. But there was this one part where like a guy was very obviously not paying attention, but he was also like engaging on a level that implied that he knew more than Rocco and was just making up his own stuff. It's like, oh, that guy's crazy.
That's actually kind of great.
Yeah.
Oh, what a crazy he comes up and he starts talking to you about something that your special interest, and they're just deranged about it. You're like, okay, are you homeless? Do you need assistance? You know where the soup shelter is? We can get you there. Soup shelter? What the hell? That was like several different homeless tropes thrown together.
I'm trying to imagine what a soup shelter might look like.
I wonder if it's like a trick, like like they tell you it's a shelter, but then they actually cook you for soup.
Oh, is that how they were getting the people for the Soylent Green?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They trick him in. It's like, oh, homeless people, come here. We got beds. Why is the room round? Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Hole in the ceiling? Don't. That's all good. It's all good. Um, darn, I had a related thought, and it just like it flew away in the wind. Oh, I remember now. One of my favorite Futurama gags, I think, is like I can never find the exact clip of it, and maybe it's from a different show, but I feel like it's Futurama because it feels like a year 3000 joke. But Fry's like talking about like I'll live in a refrigerator box like a homeless person, and Lena's like, huh, yeah, not with the way property taxes are on those things. And I was like, oh man, that would be in their world. What's wild is how the job chip thing got dropped.
Oh yeah.
I like if it's like a big deal at the beginning, kind of, but then they kind of don't mention it. And I feel like they switch jobs a lot without they maybe mention it one other time, maybe.
That would be a good gag to explore. Like maybe the professor has a device that allows people to circumvent the job chip limitations, and then he has to like go to jail or something.
No, I think maybe they mention it in the bee episode, the bee honey episode, but I don't know. But that would be an interesting episode. My head canon is going to be that Nixon got rid of it when he got reelected.
That would be a very Nixon move.
I can't wait.
Deregulate the workforce. So says
when
I.
don't at me, FBI, but I can't wait for when Trump's dead so that we can throw him in whatever terrible season of Futurama is and not feel bad to do it.
Yeah,
Because
maybe they can write some actual jokes. It feels like a lot of people have been writing non-jokes when it comes to portraying Trump and stuff.
although I don't have too much hope for Futurama, I've not watched the most recent season. The one before that, and we probably talked about it before on here. I don't know, or I know we talked about it in voice calls, but like that season just, I
So
wanted to
rough.
like it, but it just was not.
Yeah, I don't want to be mean to whatever geeks they hired to write the new Futurama, but go back to school.
I think it was in the middle of the Dune parody where I was just like, this is so forced. Why did they even do this? You could have
Yeah.
just not done this. Because there were at least some of the other episodes had little bits I could enjoy. Like, okay, they're picking on the fact that people marathon and that, during COVID, we like all watched 1 billion hours of streaming. Okay, that's kind of funny ish. And then I feel like they did like an obligatory COVID episode that wasn't good. And then they
It
did
wasn't
like,
good.
yeah, by the time I hit the Dune one, I was just like, this is ugh. And then they do the like I know you've mentioned the toy episode. Um
Yeah, that
so
really disturbed me because I I don't understand what the angle was. Like, is the implication that the show is so old that the reference is supposed to be funny because those are all like millennial properties that they're parodying, or what?
yeah, I don't I
I
it
need someone to
just
explain it to me like I'm an idiot.
yeah, that's how I felt with it too. It's just not funny. And it's kind of sad because like I know people had their feelings about the Comedy Central seasons, but I thought that they were pretty okay. Like there are misses, but there was still enough funny stuff in there that like I enjoyed those seasons as a whole, even if they weren't as good. But now it's
Oh,
just like I don't even want to.
is it possible that we might have like aged out of Futurama conceptually, like the Comedy Central haters?
Oh, maybe, but I don't know. I'm holding on to the fact that I think no, no. I think
It's the showrunners who are wrong.
yes, yes. I'm gonna Skinner this one.
It is funny how like certain properties can retain sort of like their like original sauce, but then like there are so many other like series and shows that just like go through all kinds of different permutations. Uh, Sometimes to its benefit, like Common Writer is a good example. It's always different. Like there's no expectation of like whatever happened the last time. It's going to be something new, and you're either into it or you're not into it. Or like the Peanuts. You could never really mess with the Peanuts too much. It's a fixed formula that everyone understands, and so the trick is just coming up with more scenarios for those characters to interact with, as opposed to like blowing up the universe with something entirely new.
Hmm.
Like apparently they're doing with Popeye, like they keep adding new characters. I didn't even know they were still making Popeye comics, but yeah, they are. And big
I
shakeups
didn't
happening
know
in the
that either.
Popeye universe.
That's wild to me. Oh, comicskingdom.com has the Popeye strip from
Yeah.
November 8th. Okay, this is wow. Yeah, I didn't know that either. Uh, mm. Is it
Pretty
longer than One
crazy.
Piece yet?
Oh, that is a good question. We have to find a Popeye expert to tell us.
Yeah. Is it? I mean, it goes to 1935, almost 100 years old. Wowza!
Speaking of comics, there was a article I found recently that I wanted to highlight. It's from this guy named Bob Draws. Have you heard of this guy?
I've
It's
not.
apparently like a popular, maybe not popular, but like a semi, I guess, known uh, comic artist and also prolific fetish illustrator. I remember seeing this guy on DeviantArt a long time ago, but he wrote an article about Blue Sky, the new hotness, because now everyone is forced to get on it. Back in October, about creating custom feeds for your own posts. And I've linked it here in the notes so that you can look at it because I
This
think
is
it might be
cool.
useful for you specifically because you're actively working on a comic and
Yeah.
posting it to Blue Sky.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to to go through this. This is really cool. Yeah, I saw you drop this link in the notes and I was excited for it. I knew like there was some stuff like this, but did not know the specifics of how it worked.
Yeah, one thing specifically that is of particular interest is that he cites a service that he uses to create the feed, Bluefeed, located at a bluefeed.app. I had no idea tools like this existed. I thought I would have to like code the feeds all by myself, which is why I have so few feeds. But wow, no, they have services for that now. Amazing.
You know, it's a good it is a it's a healthy ecosystem when you have people actively developing tools around it.
Yeah. Which
That's
Twitter
usually,
used to have. Then they kneecapped the API access. Then they started charging for it. Now, I don't even know if you still have access to the API with Blue.
yeah,
I don't want
it's
to find out.
and it's such a shit show on there too. Like Twitter isn't fun to engage with anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas like, I really like on Blue Sky, I use Deck Blue. I set up like hashtags as a bunch of different columns. So like, every time I load in, I go in there. Yeah, I have one for like Marvel characters and X-Men characters, Xenomorphs, and like I don't have one for comics yet because I haven't found a comic feed that's like good. The comic feeds I found are all like posting strips and stuff, and like I don't know, just not totally what I'm looking for.
It's
But
more
like,
general than like curated almost.
yeah. Um, but that's really fun and easy to find posts and engage with. Whereas on Twitter, it feels like it's shoving not good posts at me all the time that aren't relevant. Half of it's really forced right wing propaganda. The other half is what my followers actually do, which is the only good half. But and it's hard to even get the algorithm to like serve you stuff. The way
Yeah.
even and I don't know. I feel like it's hard to even get tweets out there to be like seen. If you're not like a Blue subscriber, your posts aren't really going to get pushed very far. Um, Tags don't do anything. So like I don't know. It just feels very weird. The only way to do anything is to like be actively hopping on whatever is trending on the side.
Which is
Seeing,
very uncool. It's almost
yeah,
suffocating.
yeah. I saw that on the like I think like the free apps for phones. The Blue Sky app has been passing the Twitter app for installs or something, or
Hell
like
yeah.
popularity, which is like that's cool. I would love to see people mass abandon Twitter, especially with this block update. Um, I know it won't fix the propaganda landscape of it because the people who are really in that bubble are going to keep using it because they love it. It's gonna, it is the in shitified public square, but it is nice that there is a good alternative. And if it gets popular enough and big businesses switch to it primarily, then that could force a bit of change. I think a big win is just seeing pictures of like sports shows pulling questions from Blue Sky Social. That's like that's getting your foot into the mainstream.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I saw this from like I was on a subreddit and they were posting up that they're at some bar and a show like on there had pulled some question. And I was like, damn, that's that's good. That's like a milestone. I feel like. I mean, maybe it's been happening, but it just so many of these have been like it felt like the interest in it waned really fast and it feels like it's sticking around. Like every time something bad has happened to Twitter, people have come over to Blue Sky. Um, but each time a few more stick. And now it feels like we're actually kind of hitting that. Um, and it seems to be the biggest contender because I don't think like Mastodon or I don't even know what other ones are out there have hit the same critical mass yet.
Kind of just like permutations, or rather elaborations on the momentum that Mastodon started. Like there are software applications built on the same underlying ActivityPub protocol that Mastodon runs on. There have been attempts at like doing a open source Instagram, or like people have been doing their own version of like Facebook using ActivityPub, but none of them stick because the, I guess, implication of it being mostly useful for splinter communities puts people off because they want to be where literally everyone else is.
Mhm.
So on one hand, it's cool that people have an aversion to, I guess, the idea of echo chambers, but also I'm disappointed because I think the software, with how it's like federation, like capabilities functions, is good for ensuring longevity of information and connections. Like if Twitter goes down, that's it. Twitter's gone. But if everyone were on Mastodon and like maybe Nazi Mastodon just imploded, oh, nothing of value was lost. We all still have our own instances.
Yeah, I find that aspect of it appealing as well. I've never like really used it, but I like the idea behind it.
Yeah.
Um, Feels more billionaire proof. It can't ruin every instance of Mastodon, just some of them.
And also, like, sometimes people have community standards that they have to adhere to, and you don't have to like stay on an instance that has rules that you don't agree with. You could always go to another instance and still like interact with your friends on other instances, which is cool. Like I've noticed a lot of people have been getting on Blue Sky and have been like, ew, what's with all this porn? And I was like, hey, you got to deal with it. We're all sharing the same Blue Sky, buddy. But with Mastodon, anyone with that perspective could probably just like join an instance that blocks all other adult instances, which is probably not for the best. Like, you know, if someone is a kid on the internet, maybe they should talk to their parents about finding a kid-oriented space. I know no kid in the history of the universe has ever done that except for maybe my sister. But the option exists if you have a good relationship with your parents and they want you to like socialize.
Actually, asking your parents' permission before using a website? Wow. I always loved how commercials said that, like, be sure to
Yeah,
ask your parents' permission first, wink, wink.
as if anyone would do that. Or at least like you learned right away, maybe like the very first time you saw your parents type the URL into the address bar, you realized, oh, I could do this myself. I don't need to ask my parents.
Yeah, I intuited a lot of that. I remember my aunt showing me like Yahoo Games once. And then like the next day I had a Yahoo account. My folks were like, "Did you make that for them?" And it's like, "No, I just figured it out. You click the button and then it asks for a name and you just put it in." Like they're like blown away. But when you're a kid, you're like a little information sponge.
Yeah.
So yeah, brains are so fucking cool.
I remember a very early memory of seeing my mother browsing like an very early, probably like mid 90s, whatever year Hercules came out, version of MSN .com. And I saw one of those Hercules advertisements. They had like this huge banner advertising the movie. And it was like, whoa, that's on a computer. That's crazy. I got to get in on this, whatever it is. And I would just like waste hours browsing websites. That's how I learned about what was it called? Image, Light, and Magic, the Star Wars special effects company, long before Episode One ever came out. Um, and like browsing PBS and discovering all the resources that they had on there before Wikipedia became a thing, and then that was like more information.
Yeah. I remember Wikipedia kind of killed these when I was really young. We had an encyclopedia CD.
Oh yeah, Microsoft Encarta.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
I mean, it was so cool. I loved the shit out of that. I'd watch all the little videos, read so much of it.
I
But
liked
yeah,
that bundled in game Mind Maze, where you had to go through the rooms, and each room had a like encyclopedia centric quiz, and you could like use the encyclopedia while playing the game to research your questions, but you couldn't take too long because you're on a timer. It was
what
too good for what it
smart
was.
way to like train kids to be like really good at picking up information and finding important information quickly without uh letting them know you're doing that.
Yeah. Which I guess everyone does now. Like if you're in a internet argument, you're basically on that timer.
Oh my goodness, yes. True. I try to not even anymore because it's just so it's frustrating and it's like never worth it.
Oh yeah. I hate being in a position where someone has to ask me for a source. So I always make sure to volunteer any information I have with the source. But I also just get no engagement, which annoys me because it feels like at that point, people are just engaging to like have the argument. Like
Hmm.
if someone can't swoosh in and say a source, then they don't care, which
Yeah,
is bad.
I have done done this a few times. They come in, you tell them a thing, they ask for a source, you give them a source. They're like, oh, CNN, no, thank you. I'm like, okay, AP, BBC, however many
Yeah.
other things reporting on the same exact story, and then they just crickets, and it's like, okay, so you don't actually care about source, you just want to be like, you just want to sow doubt. It's hard to tell if that's a bot or a Russian or an idiot. Uh, it's
And I have been that guy when it comes to like engaging in certain things. Like I tend to be dismissive when it comes to pop culture, but for like real world stuff, um, I try to be more engaged. But if someone's just like nickel and diming me with regards to information on like Batman lore, I'm gonna be the Russian bot.
yeah. I yeah, I usually just it's not even worth it for that. I'll just usually end it with that's not how I remember it. But okay,
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know.
I
I'm
am the
not
first to admit
super.
that I'm not super versed when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't want to be the person like dying on the hill of whether or not Iron Man was an alcoholic or not in some obscure run.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll never die on a pop culture hill. And I also try to be like, if I don't know something for a fact, I try to be pretty upfront with that
Yeah.
too. Which also is like a little bit covering my ass, but a little bit just like I feel like just like is good to I don't know. Because I feel like a lot of people talk about things that they hear as if they know it for certain, even though it's just like a thing they've kind of heard or was referenced. And I don't know. I feel like I try to break out of that habit. So if I'm telling people something that, do your own research on it. Don't take me as fact. Google it and find out, I hate do your own research. It's been poisoned. That phrase has been poisoned by people, by vaccine deniers. I hate it. Doing your
It's
own research is
unfortunate.
good. It's just not good when you think you're better than the experts in fields.
It's also good to, I guess, interrogate the validity of whatever sources you do come up with. You don't want to be Bobby Hill researching your culture and then coming back with white supremacist jokes.
Yeah. Who's a member of the North Aryan subgroup?
Oh, that was a good episode. I love the part
But
where like Bill immediately like turns on him. It's like, Bill, why are you even here?
oh man. Bill's such a funny character that man, that show's just so good. Um
Yeah.
and as I've gotten older, it's only gotten funnier to me.
Really looking forward to that new show that's coming out. You know, Mike
Yeah.
Judge has not dropped the ball, so
Yeah. He
I'm
has not
excited.
lost it. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying that I was excited. He
Oh
has not
yeah.
dropped the ball.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I watched the Beavis Butthead movie or whatever. That was pretty fun. I was never a Beavis and Butthead fan, so I can't talk about how true to the show it was, but other people seem to enjoy it as well. Uh, I liked a lot of his work over time. Idiocracy is a fucking classic.
Oh, that was Mike Judge?
Yeah,
Wow. I had no idea. That makes sense though. Huh. What a prolific writer.
yeah, funny guy, funny guy. So, what is this mustard death?
Oh, this I just added to the notes because I thought it sounded funny. I have no idea what uh, mustard bath is. I guess it's supposed to be like a scrub of some kind. You know, like they have all kinds of esoteric bathing products that are supposed to be like good for your skin or something. And it just made me realize I don't really know what mustard even is.
It's like a
Like,
it's like a
I just know it
seed,
as like
right?
the yellow sauce, but yeah, I guess it's a seed.
Yeah, you grind it up, I think, to get that. I don't know. I think you grind it up to get that sauce, but maybe you do some other stuff too. I have seen baths and stuff. When I was in college, my buddy, I don't know why I specified college. I guess okay, this is my buddy who did this, did not go to my college. He was from my high school. But we hung out a lot during my college years. He got really into making his own soap and body scrubs for a bit.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I know a lot of people like that.
yeah,
They
he
would go out of their way to give me their product as a sample, and I would actively refuse to use it.
yeah. I never quite got into using it. Although the nice he would offer it to anyone. He wasn't charging. I just
Yeah.
I have the soap I like, but
My
he
fear
would.
was like someone says, "Oh, here's a nice chocolate fudge scrub," and I'm like, "This is just your used coffee grounds, is
I
what it
was
looks like."
I was gonna say it. The used coffee ground one is the big one. It's like yeah, it's a Salacia is like no, I just why don't you compost that instead? That's a good use
Yeah,
too. But I appreciate the thought, but I will exfoliate with my exfoliate soap bar.
yeah.
I've used I haven't used some scrubs that I bought. And they can be good, but I don't know. I also don't 100% know if like all those scrubs are really good for your pipes and also um uh are those chock full of microplastics? I don't know.
It's
Maybe I've not
unfortunate
researched it.
because it's also like a huge industry. Like, you know, when you go on Alibaba and you see a product that's like, "Oh, buy this and put your logo on it," that's an indicator to me that it might be a scam. And there are scrubs like that.
Ooh.
And so I start thinking in my head, like, are scrubs a scam? Like, what's in it? What am I putting on my body?
Yeah,
I get annoyed.
that's a good point. Yeah, mustard seed scrub. It says it's uplifting and restorative, uh, and therapeutic. It's not even just scrub. This is a bath. I'm not a bath person. I'm a shower person through and through. The idea of sitting in a bathtub, and this might be just because I have ADHD. When I was a kid, I was not good at cleaning. I did not keep things clean. My bathroom was pretty gross. It was gnarly. And even now, like, I don't know. You can clean a bathtub and you can clean it really
Yeah.
well, and it only ever looks so clean. And the thought of sitting on that like grosses me out so hard. Even in like a hotel where like it looks like a high end hotel, like not even like a shitty motel, but like a really nice place where they've got like jets or whatever coming out. Even sitting in that, like I would need swim trunks. I'm not. I don't want to be on that. I don't know why. I've just never ever been a bath person. Showers all the way.
I don't know about swimming trunks, but I am a bath squatter. I've never relaxed. Um, it is like a time to get immersed, and like I like the concept of a bath because like when it has all of the soap in it and stuff, that is like all of the dirt and chemicals like actively getting pushed off of me, and then I actually begin the washing process, and it probably is all going away. But yeah, I'm not gonna like sit and soak and have my butt like where people put their feet.
Yeah. You see in movies, you have people reading a book in the bath. I'm like, no, no, I'll read a book in my book reading place,
Yeah,
away
couldn't
from
be
the
me.
water.
Or if I were that kind of person, I hope my phone is waterproof.
Yeah, nowadays I guess people are scrolling, but so many phones are waterproof. But still, I'm not going to tempt fate. Take it
Yeah.
next to a bathtub, drinking wine in a bathtub. I don't want to get buzzed in a bathtub. I'm going to slip and fall.
Imagine having your phone like rated for a particular like depth level, and then the bathtub is like just point 0.5 over that.
Oh no. Oh no. Luckily, I've never lost a phone to depth level yet.
Oh yeah, whenever I see a body of water, I become overprotective. Like I live near a lake, and a lot of people are very cavalier about like walking along the coast. I'm like, nope, I'm staying way far away from there.
Yeah, I even get a little antsy holding my phone too close to a storm drain.
Oh, that would kill me if I dropped my phone in a storm drain.
I'd never recover. I would never. Oh, that'd be so bad. Oh man.
Like city officials know me by name, and I would be so embarrassed if I like had to go anywhere and be like, "Hey, hi, yeah, you know me. My phone is in the
I would.
sewer system."
I'd just replace the phone. I wouldn't be able to do it. I don't even know if I'd want it at that point. It'd be tainted forever. Uh,
Probably, yeah.
I I'm pretty lately I've had for the first time in my life I've had phones like longer than a few years. In college I was so bad about losing them, so I only ever bought the cheapest of phones because like I couldn't keep track of it. Uh then my loss, I think my last phone I lost was like 8 years ago or something like that. So I think I lost that at a restaurant, I think, but I don't
Dang.
know. I could never track it down. Um, but my last phone, I actually got to the point where it was too slow and useless. So I felt really good replacing it because, like, I was not on the yearly replace train. I try not to do that. I try to, you pay it off and use it as long as I can.
Right. Which I guess that's what they're supposed to do, but the marketing doesn't really support that. Like the whole security updates for up to 3 years thing kind of implies, oh, so it's only good for 3 years, but no, it can go on for longer.
Yeah. They really just like to keep people on that permanent phone payoff treadmill. Because they'll give you credit for trading it in and stuff, and you
Yeah.
can roll it over to the next phone, but it's never like quite enough that you're paying off the phone early. They're just keeping you locked in.
Which Google had at one point. I think Google One was supposed to be that, but you also got like a bunch of Google ecosystem benefits bundled in, but then they didn't stick with it. Like, for some reason, either people weren't buying into Pixel subscription plans, or Google looked at the numbers and discovered that selling the phones at a loss with the benefit of increasing subscription numbers didn't amount to much. But when it was initially announced, it seemed like a good deal. I could pay for my stupid Pixel for however much that cost. And then I would also get Google Drive and YouTube and Google Music. Heck yeah. But typical Google. Introduce a cool thing and then kill it.
Yeah, it seems like about half of all Google products end up that way,
Yeah.
at
Like
least.
Stadia. Oh boy. It was so cool of them to refund 100% of every amount of money everyone spent on Stadia.
and yet the
Unprecedented.
and yet the Stadia heads were still uh reading about it.
They're still coping, yeah. It did work for, like, what it was. It just, was very anti-consumer. You didn't own anything, but they wanted you to pay, uh, ownership prices for those games.
Yeah, not cool. Remember was it Google Plus? Was it Google Circles? Was it well they're the social media they tried to force everyone
Oh,
onto.
Google Plus. I loved Google Plus. Hanging out on Google Plus feels like how Mastodon feels now, where, like, there are so many different kinds of, like, accounts. It's always something new to find, and it felt like you had to, like, go through several different levels of other accounts to find the new stuff. For the whole duration of Google Plus's life, there was also this one blogger called the Deadpool Bugle that was just nothing but Deadpool news. And so that's how I was keeping up with like all of the Deadpool stuff until Google Plus went down. And then for some reason, the blog went down with it. Like there's no more Deadpool Bugle.
You know what's wild is I googled that really quick and I found a post from like 2 years ago. It's like y'all remember Deadpool Bugle?
Okay, so I'm not the only one who read that nonsense.
Oh yeah, no, it was big. I guess people remember. That's funny.
The domain now belongs to some online gambling thing, as it goes. I remember, like, in the early 2010s, I had a handful of, hobbyist websites for things that I was doing, and a common grift, although it's unclear who was getting grifted, was to, put a link to a gambling site on your homepage. Like, it would be either in the main menu or some other, like, prominent place on your website, maybe in the footer, and then the gambling site would pay you, like, $100 or $200 depending on how much traffic you had, and it would just be for, like, a year or maybe 2 years, and then they would renew it. So for, like, 5 years, I got $500 just for putting that link on, one of my, like, indie game project websites. It was the easiest money I'd ever made in my entire life,
Damn.
and because of, like, the way that people, engaged with websites back then, it didn't hurt the integrity of my website to have, like, blatant gambling advertising in the main menu. It was just there. Nowadays, though, that would be egregious and obnoxious. Nobody does that anymore.
Oh, how times have changed. Well, I think that's about think that's about everything that I had to talk about this week. Do you have any other last minute uh things on the mind?
Um, Nothing significant. I guess for anyone that has been avoiding it, the Shin Kamen Rider manga is catching up to the movie. So it might be a good time to start reading that in anticipation for the TV adaptation that Hideki Anno has been working on. It's pretty interesting. Like the whole manga is just focusing on the shocker characters. So like all the characters that get like almost jobbed through the course of the movie, they have a super deep and complex backstories that are not very well elaborated on in the movie, but are exhaustingly elaborated on in this manga. If that sounds interesting.
Yeah,
It's
I've
kind of like
not.
the penguin for all those shocker characters.
Yeah, I'd not watched Shin Kamen Rider or Shin Ultraman yet, but after talking about it the other day, I went ahead and got some copies of it, and it's on my list of things to watch this week when I have the time to sit down for something with subtitles.
It is pretty interesting. I really like it. And reading through that manga has been a frustrating experience, but seeing how everything fits together, it started to feel less frustrating. I kind of like it now.
That's hype. It's always nice to have. I don't read enough. I try to read manga, but I'm definitely much more on kind of the American side of comics. I read like I feel like I'll read a few standout manga when I hear about them.
Yeah.
Like I was following Spy Family for a long time, which is just I've read like good bits of Berserk and Vinland Saga. It's like the ones that everyone talks up, kind of.
Yeah.
Um, I've always been like outside of the shonen stuff that really got popular when I was growing up. I'm not super deep into it. I always feel kind of bad because I like run in circles with people who are a lot more anime pilled than me. Um, and so I'm always kind of just like kind of just coasting along and whatever I know, being like, yeah, that sounds great. That's awesome. I wish I knew more about this stuff, but I just can't watch that much anime. I need to have most of my anime dubbed because like they tend to be long and I tend to like to watch them when I'm drawing and stuff. A lot of what I watch media wise is done when I'm drawing.
That makes sense. A lot of anime, it's fortunately not very good, so you're not missing out on much. Um, a common joke that I have is it's one of the most incestuous media endeavors in a current popular media, because even if it's something original, it's referencing a reference of a reference of a reference
Hmm.
more often than not.
Yeah,
So
we have our own version of that in American comics. We call it comics about comics when they
true.
become too much about some reference or lore thing or too up their own head with the continuity instead of being a story, which
Yeah,
isn't
there are a lot of
exactly the
books like
same.
that. It kind of is, but I guess more people are into the idea of like writing for those kinds of books when it comes to like Western comic books, whereas in Japan, most people will just go, "Oh, there's no way I'll be able to write for that series. It's been gone for 30 years. So here's my version of it." But it's also just literally that thing.
that makes sense. I mean, and I totally get the this is that thing, but I made it. Like I
Yeah,
totally get it. I'd do that too. And I see a lot of people do it, and it can be really good too. That's not necessarily a bad thing in and of itself.
I do have like a little bug in my brain that says I should just do Ken Pender's Echidna Saga comics because he probably won't do it the way I want him to do it.
Yeah, is he still making those
He
like
has
with the
to. He like
characters he has
fought
to
tooth and
write
nail
though?
for the rights to those characters. Apparently, he's been working on a thing, but it hasn't come out yet. Or maybe it came out this year and I just haven't heard anything about it. But yeah, he's cooking. Who knows if what he's cooking is good or not? We'll have to ask uh, Spiral
Yeah,
Senshi,
yeah. I was gonna say
the only
Spiral seems
Sonic
like
head that I know and can like have a normal conversation with.
yeah. I've always been kind of interested in I've seen a lot of videos that go over the lore, and I've always been kind of interested to check out some of the highlights of that. I just find that the idea of someone being on that licensed book for that long and really somehow making it their own in this bizarre way, and the fact that they let him do it
Yeah, it's
for
very
so
funny that
long.
like Sega cottoned to like how detached the books were from their overall vision and like had to basically go in with a crowbar and like tug away at every character that was there. Just like say, no, we're taking our ball, Archie. You can't do this anymore.
And I love that it was like I think a contract issue that is what led to him being able to retain any of those rights at all.
Oh yeah, I
If I'm
believe it.
remembering the story correctly.
A lot of those early deals tended to be very loose. You probably wouldn't get something like that nowadays.
Oh yeah, no. Now that the world has woken up to the value of intellectual property in media.
I wonder if there would ever be a paradigm shift on that sort of thing. Like, I guess a crooked person could probably buy a popular adoptable or YCH and then manipulate the very small agreement that you would probably get from an artist to their advantage. I wouldn't want to be that person though. That sounds like a invitation to bad press.
Hmm. God, that reminds me. I saw an article the other day um, about Hollywood companies prepping for big mergers now that the administration's changing and they're not likely to be stopped.
Oh yeah, I'm sure David Zaslav is like drooling at the mouth. He's
Yeah,
about to have a big fire sale.
if yeah, everything's gonna end up owned by Disney.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I hate it. Especially because like we're not even gonna get all those movies that they destroyed, even if it does sell to
Destroying
Disney.
movies makes me mad. I want someone to leak them just to save it.
Yeah.
The loss of even if the movies weren't good, and I can't speak to the quality, who knows what they are. But even if they weren't good, just the fact that, you know, thousands of hours of human manpower and effort went into creating them for them to rot. And that's just a tremendous loss of like people's life and time. And it's just so disrespectful to the people that worked on it, even if they were paid already. I don't
And to
care.
the artistic process, like not everything has to be perfect, and a lot of things are actually worse off as a result of being perfect. More than a few Marvel movies, I think, fit into that category, where it's a little too clean.
Hmm.
Maybe we need some DC slop in order to course correct the wider filmmaking industry. Can't rely on Sony for that. Like, Sony keeps trying to clean things up. And it's only through, I guess, like absolute incompetence that they managed to make almost like normalish movies.
Yeah, I love the article was like, oh, the Sony verse has made $2 billion. 1.5 of that was from Venom movies. I'm interested to see what happens with Craven. I'm Craven the Craven. We'll see if it'll go anywhere.
Yeah, at this point, I'm locked in. You know, Madam Web, Morbius, not great, but the least amount of entertaining. Hopefully, Craven is at least a movie.
I'm hoping for some good action bits that are enjoyable. I saw the Crow remake because I had like the AMC subscription, so like there's no real big loss there to go see it.
Yeah,
So I went and saw it, and was it a great movie? No, but you know what? It did have some action beats that I enjoyed. I'm not gonna buy it to own or anything, but it was neat to see. So if it can serve up that, they
yeah.
can make it worth the use of my AMC Plus subscription, I guess I'll be happy.
It had some cool visuals, a lot of ideas sparked in my head as a result of seeing that movie. I liked the scene where he goes to the, opera house and, like, fights all those guys. I liked
Yeah.
how the, dynamics of that fight were kind of, like, not in his favor. It almost felt Jackie Chan-esque at
hmm
times, but then the movie, like, remembers, "Hang on, he's immortal. He has to win."
I like I think maybe about said something about like this in his review, but it's like he's like stumbling through it only because he's immortal and he can't be stopped, and he's like just brute forcing it kind of. And
Yeah,
I liked that angle of it, which is kind of funny. You know, maybe there was potential in the movie if they didn't have to attach themselves to that pre-existing property, because like it
oh,
didn't
yeah,
need to
it
be
could
a
have
Crow
been an
movie.
entirely different movie, yeah. Like, the whole fact that, the guy that he, like, goes after towards the end was, like, keyed into the whole, like, mysticism thing. It feels like a whole different franchise. Like, the original Crow movie didn't have any, like, further elaboration on that. It just, like, happened.
Yeah.
So, like, whatever this other thing is, definitely do it. Just don't try to trick me because there are some interesting bits.
Yeah, like, and you know, if he never even had to do the makeup and stuff, he could have just not done that, and it would have,
Yeah.
because it didn't make like, why did he do that? He only did that to be the Crow, but like, what the fuck is a Crow? Like, uh, and yeah, there was stuff there that could have been, and um, although there were some parts that didn't make sense, I don't know, like they could have cleaned up the ending because like it's like they know that he's killing people for stuff, but also like they don't know. And also, if you know that he has some weird powers, wouldn't you get further away than that city? I'd get further away than that city.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go back to that city. I don't know. I remember some other more specific criticisms I had of it, but but that's neither here nor there. The
It'll
point
make for
is,
a neat, AMV project a few years from now. Someone's gonna set that to some, funk or something, and it'll look really cool. Or maybe jazz.
I could see it, man. Setting fight scenes to music, lost art needs to come back. We need to get more people doing, maybe there's tons of people doing it, I just never see it, but uh
I hear that, it's still happening on TikTok because I guess that's where all of the, music licensing, looseness lives now.
makes sense. Unfortunately, I barely TikTok.
Yeah, I kinda got deep into it, so deep into it that I actually had a short list of accounts that I wanted to download and keep forever, but I reached that, sort of like a apex limit that all data hoarders reach, where the total sum of the data outweighs my capacity to consume the data. And I realize, oh, this is actually bad for me. That's too many TikToks.
Relatable. As a information hoarder of various varieties, I can relate.
Yeah, once you like open up a folder labeled .text files and you have like 100,000 .text files, you realize, okay, this was a mistake. But also, isn't it cool that I have over 100,000 text files?
It is absolutely cool, even if you can't realistically make use of it. But
Yeah.
maybe one day when we have chips in our brain, not made by Elon, we will be able to parse that quickly. That'd be
Or
so.
maybe like a store bought LLM that I can just like plug into my computer and like almost like point to a data set, like a scan gun or something, and like say, parse this for me.
Oh my
That would be
god!
cool. Like
If I could
finally,
have,
AI is useful.
if I could have an AI label all of my saved memes that have gibberish names, I'd be so happy.
Why doesn't this exist? Like, what's going on? Why aren't they selling us this?
Yeah, for sure. For like real. I cannot be the only person that has a billion memes saved for like ASD good at it.
Oh, I definitely do. I'm not a big meme person. I look down on memes very harshly and crudely as a communication medium. I understand its cultural significance, which is why I have a folder in the first place, but it is unwieldy and random and only ever useful in voice calls of like 10 people or more, where I'm not going to get a word in edgewise. So I'm pulling out the memes.
Yeah. I always save them and then never use them for anything. So yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. I am SnakeJess Draws. You can find me on Blue Sky or Twitter or Instagram now as well. I think my username there is like SnakeJess Comics because someone is sitting on SnakeJess Draws, and even though I
Damn.
cannot find it, it tells me that it's there. Uh, or maybe I have it and I don't know. I'll have to go check that out. I don't know. It's something like that. Anyway, I'm on Patreon as well, working on my comic. Pages drop weekly on Blue Sky. Hopefully, by the time you hear this, it's on its own feed. That'd be cool. Um, yeah, that is it for me, Julian. What do you have going on?
I've been Julian, my Julian. Um, you can find me anywhere on the internet under that name. I do have a URL specifically to list all the social media websites that I am on. It's located at, I usually have this prepared, vqcd.cool/q/1300. But before you go there, visit vqcd.in. It's my website where all of my cool stuff lives. And actually, I've finally gotten around to setting up a format that allows me to publish stuff more frequently. There are 3 new posts on the homepage right now under the free media label. So check it out. And thanks for listening.